Is on. So the microphone is on. Apparently we're live. Okay, good. Is the camera live as well? Okay, hopefully the microphone's doing a good job because the boat does. Oh, good. Okay, it appears to be working. Okay, so Masako Ganaha is running the camera. Everybody knows Masako from all over the world. And we're in the Panama Canal. I'm only going to talk briefly. Then I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Matthew Tomlett, who's spent a lot of time rolling through the Darian Gap. He's actually a Zonian. In other words, he grew up in the Panama Canal zone. Almost everybody on this boat is a Zonian, actually. So this is a Zonian reunion. So many people came in from places like Florida and Texas and all over the United States and probably different countries as well. And some of them still live here. But after we returned the Panama Canal to, or not returned it, it never was theirs, but when we gave Panama Canal to Panama in 1999, a lot of these Zonians either stayed here or left and went to places like the United States. There's about 300 ship captains, and about 12 of them are actually Americans still. So I'm going to turn this over to Matt Tomlett, my good friend. He's gone through the Darian Gap multiple times, like with Oscar Blue and Ben Bergwam, and yeah, you wouldn't believe this guy. So let's let Matt. He got his hair done just especially for this, and I'm going to be looking at comments, by the way, so I can see, and I'll feed comments to Matthew. All right, it looks like it's blown out, by the way, on the color. All right, there it goes. There's my friend Matt, and also David Tice is here, who is the producer of the film Grid Down and Power Out. He's going to talk as well. But he's going to go on after Matt brings him in.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I've been working with Michael and Masako the last 4 years, bringing people down into the Darian Gap to try to show people back in the States what's been going on here in Panama and the millions of illegal immigrants or aliens that have been crossing from South America and traveling up to the United States. And it's been a real crazy ride. Michael has a lot of people he knows, and he's brought a lot of people down here exposing this. And we're getting word now that the gap is finally, the flows are finally stopping now that Trump has gotten in. They immediately canceled the CBP1 app, which has done more to stop the flows of people. It's literally just frozen people in their tracks right now. And so it's a developing situation here. And today we're going through the Panama Canal, and Michael has some guests here. There's a bunch of people on this boat with us that are what they call Zonians that grew up here in the canal. And this is like a yearly Canal Zone reunion that they have. And so it's kind of a wild crowd on here, and we're just having a great time. Yeah. So right now, I don't know if you can pan the camera, Masako. We're going right through the Culebra Cut on the Panama Canal, and this is basically the Continental Divide, and all the mountain ranges to the left of me extend all the way down to Tierra del Fuego in South America. And if you look to the right, everything to the right goes all the way up through the Rocky Mountains. Is it connected? Okay. Yeah, we don't have great signal. Is it coming out? Okay. Yeah, so we're going to be soon going in through the locks. You can see we're in the Culebra Cut right now, and this has been greatly widened by Panama. They actually made the channel a lot deeper and wider, and it's not the same canal that was opened in 1915. It's a much bigger canal, and we're going to be going through the American locks that the Americans built, which was opened in 1914. In about an hour, we should be getting in there. And yeah, so you want to come in and talk, David? So this is David Tice. David Tice made a documentary. You want to tell us a little bit about what you did?
Yeah, so I'm the producer director of a award-winning documentary with Dennis Quaid narrating called Grid Down, Power Up. And first of all, just let me thank Michael Yon, Miyake, his wife, for hosting me. I've met some phenomenal people, as Matt said, some Zonians. These are Panamanian citizens that have, kept the Panama Canal functioning for decades. Anyway, my film is about the vulnerability of the power grid, and it's available on YouTube. Our website is griddownpowerup.com. Dennis Quaid narrates it. We talk about the impending and cataclysmic threats to our critical civilian infrastructure, specifically the power grid. And if our power grid goes down for an extended period of time, for up to a year, as many as 90% of American citizens could die. And the travesty about this is that there are solutions and fixes available to prevent this. And essentially, there are four major threats we talk about in the film. One is from natural causes, a solar storm or a geomagnetic disturbance. There was one in 1859 called the Carrington event, and it would essentially create these, it's called natural electromagnetic pulse, and it would wipe out all sensitive electronics and could wipe out our transformers and could put us into a blackout scenario coast to coast in the United States, which could cause the death of 90% of American citizens. The other three threats we talk about come from bad guys, which is a physical attack, a electromagnetic pulse, which is a man-made created attack from a nuclear blast in the atmosphere, or a massive cyber attack. And those threats could all take out our major transformers, our substations, our generation facilities. And again, this is all fixable. On our website, you can go to the participate tab in the top right-hand corner, and just with a few clicks of your mouse, you can send pre-written letters to your specific legislator, your regulator, and your board of directors of your major public utilities. And therefore, we need to create a movement parallel to the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers movement, and we need millions of citizens to make these outreaches to these decision makers, and then tell your friends. And so anyway, I'm very thankful to Michael and his team. Going back to the Panama Canal, we've been very, very concerned about the Darian Gap. I hope to go there in the next few days. We're very hopeful about, as Matthew just said, some of that migrant flow being slowed down, because Tom Homan, who is now our border czar, has talked about how there's 2.2 million getaways who have gotten in this country. And we know there's a lot of military age single men that have come across. And we know there's a significant percentage of potential sleeper cells who have nefarious intent and therefore could be activated with instructions to take actions against our critical civilian infrastructure and do no telling what kind of damage. And therefore, we've been worried about that for a long time. And a lot of those sleeper cells still exist. And therefore, we're praying for Tom Homan to send the illegal migrants back, but especially to send back these getaways that are going to be difficult to find.
Yeah, another thing I want to comment on in our work in the Darian Gap in the last 4 years, the Panamanian authorities have been, especially Senafront, has been amazing to us, giving Michael and his team, Oscar Ramirez, incredible access, even sending us through the trail with an armed platoon of guys. And they've been extremely accommodating. And they too, Panama, like the United States, this is a huge problem for Panama. It's costing Panama hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's destroying a virgin ecosystem out there in the jungle. So many people are getting robbed and raped and murdered. It's just a giant mess. People are needing medical attention. And so Panama has been a willing ally to help. And I just hope that the new Trump administration coming in will work with them. They don't like this. The new president of Panama campaigned on shutting down the Darian Gap. I just hope that the Trump administration will deal wisely with Panama, and they can work together to stop this. Yeah. So as we go in through the locks, we'll do more updates in a little bit, and we'll check in with you guys again. Are there any questions coming in, Michael?
Oh, let me just tell people to send questions, and I'll read them and read them out to you. You don't need to use
Michael, why don't we have Matthew talk about his proposed solution, or in terms of the Panama Canal with the United States? You know, I thought that was brilliant. Matthew talked about that in the car.
Well, it's. I should talk to Michael first before I mention that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
But maybe,
Yeah, I just recommend that, because I know Trump is going to be going into negotiations soon with Panama over the canal, and I just highly recommend not using a big stick policy, because Panama is a friend to the United States, and it's not necessary to do that, in my opinion, especially with what we've seen in the Gap. They've been extremely helpful and accommodating to us. It's been an amazing experience working with them down there. Yeah.
Michael, before you get to questions, why don't you bring Becky on to talk about her amazing background with her family? So why don't you bring Becky in to talk a little bit? Yeah.
He asked, why can't we share the canal ownership?
Yeah. Okay. Someone just asked, why can't we share the canal ownership?
That was deep.
So this whole canal question is really complicated, because in 2008, Panama expanded the canal to the tune of billions of dollars, and they built 2 new sets of locks, in one on the Atlantic entrance and one on the Pacific entrance. So when Trump just blatantly comes out and says he's taking back the Panama Canal, Panamanians are like, wait a minute, we have a lot of money sunk into this and a lot of skin in this game. So it's very complicated. And I just hope and pray for Panama's sake that this all can be worked out for the good mutual benefit of both countries. Because once again, in Latin America, Panama is one of our strongest allies, the United States' strongest ally. And there's no reason to be pounding Panama right now. Everyone is pounding Panama. And yes, there is a Chinese presence reaching into this country deeply, and it's a very sincere concern. But I can tell you, if Panamanians felt that their canal was going to be taken by the Chinese, the Panamanians would be the first people calling on the United States to help them. It's like, I just pray there's wisdom in the negotiations, because, yeah, Michael. I think Michael has a question here.
Okay. What were you saying?
So why does China have? The question is, why does China have such a presence there, and why does America pay more? These are the questions asked. So ship for ship that I know of, the United States is not paying more than other countries, and the United States Navy gets precedence when they go through the canal. They are put straight to the front of the line, and they do not wait like all the other ships. So that's not actually true. Now, the United States, you could say they're paying more because they're the heaviest user of the canal. And I think Trump is upset with the ever increasing fee hikes that have been going on. And I think he wants to negotiate a better deal. But interestingly, the history of Panama was one of the only like 14 countries in the world that recognized Taiwan as a nation. And a former president about 9 years ago, Juan Carlos Varela, Panamanian president, he caved into pressure from mainland China, and he kicked out all the Taiwanese diplomats. He shut down the Taiwanese embassy. Now, the United States doesn't even recognize Taiwan as a nation officially. Panama did for a long time. So that was a big deal. And a lot, if you ask people on the street in Panama, they're like, oh, he got paid off and he sold out to China. And actually, with the Panamanian public, this was highly unpopular what he did. And Panamanians in general are very suspicious of mainland Chinese and their increased presence here, which has increased significantly since this event. One of the things that Trump is saying again and again repetitively is that the Chinese are running the Panama Canal. And that is not true. It's like straight up 100% not true. The Panama Canal is being run by Panamanians. And it's I don't know if someone's misinforming Trump. I have no idea if he's just playing hardball because he wants to negotiate. It's so hard to read. But I will tell you something. Like, I am straight up telling you that if the United States comes here by force and takes the Panama Canal from Panama with U.S. soldiers and troops, it's going to be a disaster. This country is going to it's going to turn into guerrilla warfare on the streets, literally. And it's a total unnecessary thing. Panamanians are, like I said, I'm going to repeat this. Panamanians are very suspicious of the Chinese presence here. They don't like it. They don't want to become communists. Most Panamanians, in large, favor working and siding with the United States. So my humble recommendations to Trump is just do your negotiating, but don't do it with a big pounding stick. It's not necessary. And the sad thing is that, I mean, Trump, I think with President Molino, our newly elected president here, he came in really upset about the Darian Gap. And that was one of his biggest campaign pledges, was to shut down the Darian Gap. This guy could have been, and he's a conservative guy, and he could have been an ally to Trump. But Trump has just been pounding away that they're taking the canal. They're taking the canal. And Panamanians just don't get that. Okay.
So if I could just weigh in on one thing to endorse what Matt said, it's not just Trump talking about, the Chinese running the canal. I'd say I'm a fairly typical, right-wing American patriot, and it had been my view just over the last several years that the Chinese were literally running the canal. So I literally expected to show up and see all these Chinese guys around here, running the locks, etc. And I've just been informed in the last 24 hours that's not the case at all. So I was kind of stupefied by that, but Matt's education on that is golden.
Well, one of the things, I mean, I know Trump has a huge following that adores him, and I totally get it. And when you say that he's saying something that's not true, people get really raging mad. And like I promise you, I have no agenda. I have voted for Trump in every election, but it is not true that China is running the canal. There are absolutely 100% tentacles from China reaching deep into Panama, and it is a problem. I totally get it. I just can't reinstate enough. Oh, let me ask this. Someone answer a question here. Trump and Molino are both in Davos, but I find no report of any plans for them to meet. That is correct. I hear they're both there. I have no idea they're going to meet. I hope they do. I think they'll get along. I really do. And I think they have a big task to work together to shut down the Darian Gap. And if Trump is doesn't have the mean rhetoric, he'll have a willing ally in Molino. I strongly believe that. But like I said, once again, I'm just telling people you can take it at face value or not. If the United States military comes here and tries to forcefully take the Panama Canal by force, this country is going to disintegrate into guerrilla warfare. Literally, it's going to be an absolute disaster, and it's an unnecessary disaster. It can be totally worked around and avoided. Panamanians are rational people, and interestingly, Panama. This is one of the only countries in all of Latin America where the people are not leaving to go live in the United States illegally. People are not leaving in droves. Almost every other country in Latin America, they're leaving. In Panama, they're not leaving. They're happy here. And so it's even less productive to go after one of the few countries that's not sending us millions of illegal aliens. Like, this country's not doing that. And anyway, we're all praying that this all can be worked out rationally and for the benefit of both countries and to the detriment of China, because we don't want China here. Interestingly, Panama, you will see a lot of Chinese in Panama, because when the Americans, they built a railroad here during the 1850s, during the gold rush, Americans found that it was easier to take a boat ride down to Panama, cross the isthmus by train, and then go up to California. It was actually easier. And so in the 1850s, the United States employed thousands of Chinese, Cantonese-speaking Chinese employees. And those, we're coming up on the locks here. We're getting close. Those Chinese stayed in the country, and their descendants intermarried and mingled here with the Panamanians. And so Panama has a huge, like, almost indigenous Chinese, Cantonese speaking Chinese population. You see Chinese all over the country. Those Chinese have nothing to do with the mainland Chinese that have started to come only recently, since Varela made these new ties with mainland China. And believe me, like, I can't say it enough, Panamanians are suspicious of the mainland Chinese. And anyway, we pray that the whole thing can be resolved and worked out sensibly. That's all I can say. Here, Michael.
Hey, I wonder if we could transplant this whole camera system up to the front. Oh, I was going to say, I wonder if we can transplant. Masako, what do you think? Can we transplant this camera system to the front without messing anything up? You think we can do it? Because we're going to go through the canal and everybody can see the locks and stuff. But, you need to be the one narrating this. Matthew knows like 100 times more than I do. Oh, Masako can too. Yeah, Masako. Actually, okay. And Becky has to talk too. This is all right. Here, Matthew, let me give you the microphone, and I'll carry the. Huh? We need a plan is what we need. Hey, you know how to make films.
Okay, we are
Can you
going
do a
to
recon and tell us where to put this thing?
Michael,
What's that?
we are going to transfer, relocate, so people can watch the logs. So we are going to pause, but we are going to make this live keep.
Yeah, we're going to keep the live going. And so, and since David Tice knows how to actually make professional films, can you do a reconnaissance quickly and ask people to? So yeah, no, we'll do it down here.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
you want me to move people out of here?
Or just tell us where to bring it, like, and then we'll come back
maybe
and
go up with them there. Maybe just have it. Let them,
Yeah.
Just let them all say hi or something.
yeah. Can we do that?
Yeah.
And we'll, we got it. So we got to do a diplomacy here and trying to get a good spot for the camera. So, but Matthew, if you. Okay, yeah.
Maybe we should pause it and restart it when we get up there.
Let's just roll
Keep
through.
going.
Yeah. You want to do it right here?
Yeah, let's go right there.
Okay, let's do it right here then. Oh, I see. Because the problem that is Matthew is very popular with everybody on the boat, and if they see him walk up, you'll never see Matthew again. He'll be covered. Yeah, because this is a Zonian reunion, and so and
like a bunch of hillbillies.
like this is like going with Lady Gaga here, because every time Matt shows, it doesn't matter where we go in Panama City or whatever, everybody's like surrounding Matt all the time. I'm sorry to call you Lady Gaga. Your hair's much better. Who do you think has better hair, me or Matt? Okay. Oh, good idea. So Masako's got an idea on the camera. Okay.
So Michael, I told them we were coming and they should say hello and create a little bit of space.
Okay. What do you want to do?
You want to try it?
Okay, let's do it. Matthew, can you hold the microphone because you're the one that needs to be talking? And there you go. There you go, sir.
Here, Matt, smile next to Michael.
Yeah. So that's Matthew's wife doing the wife thing. Let's take our picture.
All right. So does the camera?
And
computer has to
Becky's
go
got to get on too. That's Matthew's wife. Okay. Yeah. We're going to answer as many questions as possible, by the way, but we're moving power bank and all this stuff right now.
We'll
Okay.
just go up for a second.
Okay. Let's go. Got it. Okay. Can you keep that one, David? And all right. So should I carry this camera?
Want me to carry it, Michael? Here, let me carry
Yeah,
it.
you carry the camera and the microphone, and you guys roll, and then I'll stay out of the way. I'll bring the power bank.
Okay. You all right, Masako? Sorry, Masako.
All right, we're not filming yet, though, right?
I think it's on. It's on. Yeah.
So this is the.
Oh, they're watching.
Here comes the camera crew, guys.
70 Zonians want to say hi. Yeah. Here we go. We're going up into the chamber of the Pedro Miguel locks right now, and hope you can see it. I'm not a very good cameraman, so I apologize. Yeah, this is live. Yeah. Oh, perdón, lo siento. So right now we're at the level of the lake, which is 88 feet above sea level, and we're going to be going into a chamber. And by only gravity, something like 53 million gallons of water are going to be spilled out into the Pacific Ocean as our boat goes downwards.
You hear that? We're going down.
We're going down.
That's right.
We're going
We're
down.
gonna record you. We're gonna record you.
This is my long life brother that I grew up surfing with as a little kid. I won't tell any bad stories about him, but I could. Repeat that, sir.
This approach wall over here on our starboard side is 1,000 feet long and 60 feet wide up at the top.
Awesome. Any factoids, you can throw them at. So
We passed the arrow back there that shows you
which side to go on. Yeah. So this is the locks that is built by the United States, opened in 1914. There's on the Pacific side, they had to split up the locks. This is one step down here, and then we're going to go into the Miraflores locks, which is about a mile away. The bedrock wasn't strong enough to hold the whole locks as one unit. These are the locomotives that are made by Mitsubishi in Japan. Masako, where's Masako? And these are very specialized things that don't exist anywhere in the world. They're custom made for the Panama Canal. And these are used, they send out cables to each side of the ships. I wish we had one in front of us so you could see. And they don't actually tow the ship through. What they do is the pilot will direct it to pull and tug lightly as he needs it to keep him centered in the chamber. But the ship actually goes through on its own propeller. But yeah, did they actually tow? What's your name, sir? Carl N. Berg. What was your job in the canal? Did you work for them? You grew up in Coakley. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of people that grew up here. So the lake, by the way, Panama had a really dry El Nino year last year, and they had a ton of trouble with water shortages. And normally in the canal, they're going to be running about 39, 40 transits per day. And they actually had to reduce it. I think it went as low as like 21 transits per day because there wasn't enough depth of water for the bigger ships to go through. And yeah.
We have all kinds of data over here.
Yeah, tell me.
No, tell them the feet.
This is 110 feet wide, and the chamber is 1,000 feet long.
And these gates here are going to close behind us.
And we're in
These were made in Pennsylvania, is that correct?
Yes,
In the United States.
we're in the east lane. That's the west lane over there.
The canal, I'm sorry, the canal, interesting, because you think of the Atlantic and the Pacific, their locations to each other. The canal, interestingly, actually runs north to south, not east to west. So we're actually looking due south right now.
But the Pacific side is actually 27 miles east of the Atlantic side. It's not true north and south. The Panama flag is always blue star upper left.
That's right.
So
Uniquely in Panama, the sun rises on the Pacific Ocean and sets on the Atlantic. I think that's the only place in this hemisphere that happens. You can see this building here, that white building with the red roof. That's where they operate. So below this chamber is a series of tunnels and tubes where all the water is dispensed downwards to ocean level. And the whole thing works on gravity. There's no pumps. So basically the canal is a gigantic water management system. And there are hydrologists that go daily up into the river tributaries, and they extensively measure and monitor the flow of water coming into the canal all the time. And if you actually look at the former canal zone from Google Earth, you can actually see the border of where the canal zone ends from space, because the Americans were very adamant about keeping all the jungle around the canal. This acts as a sponge to hold in as much water as they can. And deforesting this area will be catastrophic for the canal. So Panama in 2008 started a massive project. I can't see it from here, but I'm going to film it later for you guys. They started a massive project of expanding the canal, and they actually built 2 new sets of locks that are 180 feet wide. And this has been a huge drain on the water. And a lot of people have been saying that the canal's problems last year were because of global warming. But to be really honest, they were straight up 100%. They expanded the canal without expanding the water source. And it's created a huge problem. And Panama goes through every roughly 10 years a cyclical event called El Nino and La Nina. And last year was the first El Nino to hit Panama since the new locks were open. Quiere que movemos porque... All right, the line handlers are going to come here. Say hi, everyone.
Hi. We gotta squeeze in that way because he's gotta do the
Hey, dude, how are you? Sorry, guys. No. Sorry, guys, we're shuffling around here a bit. Down here, come down. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Then when we get to the Miraflores locks, we'll drop twice that.
Okay,
Twice
that.
that.
Again, so we're gonna drop 27
Here.
here. Okay, right here.
And then twice that.
There's only one drop. If you add 27 to 3, it should be about 85 feet, which is the level we are right now. Same level as get to 85.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Americans realized that if they originally there was thoughts with the French about doing a sea level canal just cutting straight through the whole country like the Suez. And I mean, I don't even know how that could have worked. On the Pacific side, you have up to a 20 foot tidal change sometimes, and on the Atlantic it's only about 18 inches. And it would have made probably a giant tidal bore surging through the whole isthmus. It would have been a disaster. But even worse, they would have had to excavate an enormous amount of more rock and material. So they came up with the ingenious idea of damming the Chagres River and making a giant man-made lake in the middle of Panama. And so these locks are like elevators for the ships, and it's all gravity. There's no pumps, and it's really ingenious what they came up with. And this is the original concrete. This is the original cement, everything that the Americans laid down here. I mean, it's still functioning 100 years later, which is such a testament to the United States' engineering and everything that they did. It was just brilliant, and it just operates very quietly. It's not noisy. The only thing noisy is Ozonians when they're all together sometimes. So we're going to be, if you look, these gates are blocking the water. If you look behind there, you can see the drop, the step going down to sea level. So it's like a literal elevator for ships. And once again, the usage of the water is critical because this water is fresh water from the jungle, and it's going to drain out into the Pacific Ocean with each ship. Something like 53 million gallons of water go out. Never. You're doing better than me, baby.
I was gonna get a beer. I can wait a minute. We'll bring you beer.
No.
What you need? Oh, okay, got it. You're gonna go open the lock?
Yeah, so Masako recently had the honor of opening the gates of the new expanded locks. Yeah.
She did. I was with her. They let her
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. They actually last year they let her on top of the train on the Panama Canal railway train. She was on top of it, putting the camera up.
So some interesting different facts about the canal during World War II. The Americans were extremely worried about the canal would be a target for Japan, and so they took extraordinary measures to defend the canal. If they were really worried if a bomb or a torpedo somehow got up into the canal and knocked out the gates, all of the water in the lake could free flow out into the ocean, and it would take 3 years at least to refill the lake, so the canal would be inoperable. And they actually did this top secret project. Some of the older Zonians could correct me on some of these things I'm about to say because I'm not an expert on it, but they put these giant hydraulic sheets of steel down into each chamber of the locks so that in the event that the gates were knocked out by a bomb, they could hydraulically lift these big sheets of steel and instantly seal off the chamber and keep the water in the lake. It was a massive project, and they did it all in top secret. And for some reason, they removed those. Some people might, if they're an old timer, you can write in and correct me on this, but I just remember as a little kid in Gatun, they removed those, and we used to play on them. And they were like these 6-inch steel sheets. Yeah, and every hilltop around the canal zone, every hilltop looking over the canal had a battery and a gunning position. And a lot of the hills are hollowed out with tunnel systems. It's really fascinating the extent they went to protect the canal in World War II. And yeah, because it's so strategic for the United States. And this, once again, brings us back to what Trump has been talking about. And you can see how important it is for the whole Navy and everything that's for the U.S.
I will not record you saying that.
No, I've already talked extensively about it.
Enter the mic.
Yeah.
And when they added,
You want to talk?
no, let's not. No, but I can tell you, and then you.
Yeah.
Before they added this extra lock, that as you and I believe or know that that's what is causing the water issue. They wanted to open it and do the sea level again, right?
Yeah.
However, they did the study, and the amount of marine life that
Yeah.
would die.
Yeah. Is it traumatic?
Was
Yeah.
dramatic.
Yeah. So let me tell you something about what you're talking about. So there's a fish called a tarpon. The tarpon is an Atlantic species, but now it's a thriving Pacific species because of the Panama Canal. The tarpons have utilized the tunnels down below, and they've actually transited. And so has an Atlantic fish called the Goliath grouper. The snook is not native to the Pacific. It transited the canal also. So there's all these species that have transited, and now they're thriving in the Pacific Ocean, and they never were Pacific species, which is amazing. So they've also had, with the brand new locks, which we're not looking at right now, this is the American locks, they've had trouble with salt water intrusion into the lake, and it's been a huge problem. And the new locks are designed with these water-saving recycling tanks beside them, and they, unfortunately, they do save a lot of water, but unfortunately, they're allowing an injection of salt water with every ship to go into Gatun Lake, and this is a major problem for Panama because 3/4 or half of Panama City relies on Gatun Lake for drinking water, and they don't have the machinery, the multi-million-dollar equipment to take the salt out of the water. And slowly the lake's level, especially last year when it got really low, the salt water was increasing like it was alarming for people. And it could have caused a real big problem. Right now, we're in what's called an La Nina cycle, which is the exact opposite of an El Nino. And La Nina is when you get extra amount of rain. And our dry season, which should be in full furious force right now, has barely well, I don't even, has it started? It hasn't even started. It's still raining. No, it's still raining every day. Usually it'd be howling north wind right now. The trade winds blow and it would be really blue skies. This is usually our most beautiful time of year, and it's just hot and muggy, and it's a really wet year. So they have an excess of water coming in, and they can flush the lake right now and get the salt levels down again, which is a big relief for Panama. But this is a giant problem that Panama is going to have to fix. They have some plans for, there's another river up on the Atlantic coast called Rio Indio, and they're going to be trying to dam that river and make another reservoir and drain it into the canal because they desperately need more water. Yeah, and so a backstory to the canal expansion. The United States actually started that expansion in the 1930s, and you can look at their old blueprints. They had the exact plan all on paper to dam Rio Indio, because they knew even back then that if they expanded the canal without expanding the water source, it was going to cause a catastrophe. Panama, it's not that anyone was stupid. It's just extremely complicated now. The population levels around Rio Indio have grown. It would have been so easy for the U.S. to do it back then. But now they're going to have to displace a whole bunch of people. It's going to cost millions of dollars. And they've been foregoing it, not out of stupidness, just out of, it's a huge, complicated problem that they don't really want to deal with. And sadly, this year, the whole problem caught up with Panama because of the extreme dry season we had. So they are going to fix it. It's going to take a lot of money, a lot of effort. I mean, a lot of people, this canal, one of the things Trump keeps saying is the United States spends billions of dollars a year repairing the Panama Canal, which is completely untrue. Panama is paying for all of that. And now they're going to have to pay billions of dollars to expand this water source. And it's a big deal. And they've got to fix the problem. So the canal, when the Americans operated the canal, they operated the canal as a world service. And they intentionally kept the fees very low, and they allowed everyone. My father was a ship pilot in the canal. Even Soviet Union ships were allowed to come through here in the height of the Cold War, and he would take these ships and go through, and sometimes the Russians would jump over the wall and run away on the lock wall. That happened. We had some runners sometimes. That actually happened back in the day, just trying to flee the Soviet Union. But so when Panama took over the canal, they changed the model as a business and to make money for Panama. So they massively increased the tolls, and world shipping is not happy with it, to be really frank about it. But at the same time, Panama has taken on the maintenance. They're doing a professional job. It's a huge deal, it's a huge job that never ends. The daily operation, I think, is something like 11,000 employees. Someone can correct me on that exact number. But so Panama has been running it as a business, and the money goes into the country of Panama, and that's the model.
Somebody's asking if the comments can be viewed, but I couldn't see them because we were moving.
Oh, yeah.
But can you read some of them? There's some questions on there.
I'm so blind. I'm gonna get my glasses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So regarding China, it's mostly a nearby port issue controlled by private sector of Panama.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question, because this China thing keeps popping up. It's in the news everywhere, and one of the big, huge controversies is when the United States gave the canal to Panama, they gave $4.5 billion in infrastructure. They gave like 17 military bases, airfields, and I don't even know how many civilian townships were given away along with that. And when I say given, you don't want to say, there's a mythology out there that it was given back to Panama, which creates the idea that the U.S. came and stole it from Panama, which is completely false. it was given to Panama 100% free, like left the keys in the door and said, here, it's yours. And those, the United States had built extensive port systems on the Atlantic and the Pacific, multi-million dollar ports. They gave that to Panama. And in 1997-ish, Panama put out an international bid to the highest bidder to operate those ports. And a Hong Kong-based company, Hutchinson Whampoa, got the bid for those ports. There's one on the Atlantic entrance to the canal and the Pacific entrance to the canal. And those, so as you all know, Hong Kong is now in the hands of communist China. The company is an international company. They operate ports all over the world. They operate ports in the United States. And I actually worked inside one of those ports for 12 years on the Atlantic side. And their biggest client is Maersk Line, which is a Danish shipping line, very international. There's not a general feel in Panama that that company is a threat. And in fact, at the time that they gave that contract to Hutchinson, the United States the Congress actually, they put together a team and they did a big investigation and they said, yeah, it's an international company. They, like I said, they operate ports in the United States. They're massive all over the world. And so this is fueling the fact that a Chinese company now has that. Now with the fall of Hong Kong, people are speculating, and it's probably very true, that mainland China is involved with this company. And could these ports be used to block the canal in a wartime situation? So the reality of that, I don't know. I mean, everyone's guessing. I want to explain that those ports are the ships that go into those ports are under the Panama Canal Authority. Panama Canal pilots dock the ships. It's not Chinese. It's run by the Panama Canal Authority. There's not like Chinese captains getting on those ships. And yeah, we're going to see some interesting stuff here as this all develops. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Oh, yes. I was looking at the question.
Yeah. This is Matt Tomlin talking, by the way.
Michael Yon.
That's Tilly. That's Tilly.
Could China be influencing things behind the scene? Maybe that's what is meant.
Yeah, so that's the $1 million question right now, is China influencing things behind the scenes? Yes, they are, big time, full on. They are, sorry. China is definitely, as I said earlier in the back of the ship, I told you the whole story about our former President Varela, how he ended diplomatic ties with Taiwan. Definitely China is reaching into this country. They have interest here without a doubt. I will reiterate, like, really straight up, it is the Panama Canal Authority that is running the Panama Canal. It is not Chinese soldiers, as President Trump has said repeatedly. And I do understand, like, there is a problem for the United States with China's presence here. People are worried about it. I don't know if something has recently happened that's tipped Trump off. I think that Trump would do well to, once again, just talk to Panama. Panama is an ally to the United States. Panamanians, once again, are highly suspicious of the Chinese here. It was very unpopular what Varela did. And I believe the whole situation could be worked out without having to thump Panama with a big stick. I mean, it's not necessary at all. And I'll say this again, like, if Panamanians all know, Panama does not have a military, by the way, because they know if the canal is ever threatened from a foreign force, the United States is going to come in and defend it. And Panamanians, Panamanians felt that at any moment in time, China was going to steal the canal from them, they would be the first ones calling the U.S. military down here to help. The problem with Trump's gesturing is that he's threatening to just outright take the canal, period. This canal encompasses billions of dollars that Panama has built, and it's highly insulting to Panamanians when they come and say, hey, we're taking it all. And a lot of it the U.S. didn't even build. And the U.S. deepened the channel to accommodate 50-foot draft of ships. Panama, they've spent billions on this canal. It's not just an American canal anymore. So it's a really complicated situation to just say, I'm coming and taking it. It will. I keep repeating this, and Trump supporters, and I'm one of them, get furious mad. Like, this guy's got an agenda. What's he talking about? Like, I'm letting everyone know, if Trump sends the U.S. military with troops down here and tries to just outright take it, this country is going to descend into utter chaos. It will be worse for the canal operation than anything you could do. And strong-arming Panama is such a bad idea because it's so unnecessary that it's just going to drive people more to the left and more to how do the Chinese operate? They come here, they don't subjugate anyone, they don't beat anyone around, they just come with bags of money, and they're very nice and but crafty, right? We all know they have a bad design, but they're very slick at what they do. And yeah, anyway, is there any other question?
Not a question, just a comment. Don't forget all American lives and lives that was lost or that were lost for building the canal.
Yeah. So the number that Trump is saying, 38,000 Americans died building the canal, is also not accurate. Something about 20,000 French died building the canal, and they estimate around 5,000 to 6,000 died in the American effort. And I'm sorry. And of that 5,000 to 6,000, actually only 500 were actually Americans. That's what the real numbers are. So the Americans brought in thousands of West Indians from the Caribbean to be workers for the American effort. And those people are still in the country, just like the Chinese that came in for the railroad that I was talking about earlier. And they've mixed, and they're a big part of the permanent Panama population. So, yeah. Yeah.
Question. So I've spoken to a lot of individuals here who are of middle class or la gente humilde, and they say that they prefer that the Americans administer the canal.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I wanted to talk about that too, because there's actually, I'm sorry. The question was, so she asked that there's a lot of Panamanians that actually would be very happy to see the Americans come back. And actually, right now, and I'm really watching this, there's a rising tide of Panamanians that are saying, you know what? It was better under the gringos. We don't make a penny from the canal, and just these rich families in Panama make all the money, and so bring them back. And it's actually a growing tide. There was a bunch of Panamanians literally wearing Trump hats blocking Panama ports the other day. I saw videos of this. So there's, once again, I keep going back. If Trump would talk respectfully to Panama and not forcefully, he'd have an ally and he'd solve his problem really quickly. I do believe that. I really do. I'm sorry. Cheaper. So yeah. I think it's a multifaceted thing. Someone was saying all Trump wants is better prices, which I'm sure he does. Yeah, and that's reasonable. And also he wants to keep China at bay here. There's no doubt about it. He has to do something. Something has to be done about it, because China is encroaching into Panama more and more and more.
Didn't the then P. Carter sell it for $1 along with the treaty on how it was to be run, which stated that America would be treated fairly and no other country could possess it?
Yeah, the canal, exactly. No other country could possess the canal. It has to remain neutral. There's a clause in the treaty that if the canal is mismanaged and somebody is blocked from using it, the U.S. in perpetuity has the right to intervene forever. And Panama knows this. And what was the other part of that question? I'm sorry.
It was a question about did Carter...
Oh, yeah. And yes, Carter, they gave the canal away for $1, just as a ceremonial thing. They gave the canal, the United States gave the canal to Panama for $1. That's correct.
By the way, the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, describes why the canal was given away.
Yeah, the real reason in this, I wish I could get the facts more clear.
What was the name of that?
The Creature from Jekyll Island is a fascinating book. It has a section. There's another book that everyone should read. The guy's name is Sam Stoll. He was a New York lawyer that basically Panama was in debt to bankers in the United States. And they got together and decided that, sorry, Tilly. They decided that it would be good for their business to give Panama the canal so they could use the revenue to pay them back. And that's, I can't say that's 100%. I don't know the facts enough to really report on that, but I absolutely believe it, like straight up. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you already discussed this. So Hutchinson Ports, were they a Hong Kong company before the Chinese takeover?
Correct. They were actually British in the beginning. They were a British company. And after the Chinese took over, I mean, any company that big, they say in China, China's tentacles will be injected into that company. Now, prior being a Hong Kong company, there was probably not really a threat. Yeah, something's blowing. All right. Yeah, I guess we're gonna go down.
We're going downbound, I think.
Yeah, that was the slowest. That was the slowest canal.
I think those are the
Yeah.
for sure. This is Manila.
How about we, the USA, buy it back? Mr. Trump knows how to negotiate. Remember that China is run by communists. Never trust them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're having fun reading those.
I am.
Yeah, you enjoy.
Very amusing.
Yeah.
My daughter was just like, "Mom, don't say that."
Yeah. So on the Pacific side, there's two sets of locks, Pedro Miguel and Miraflores, which is like 2 miles up over that way. On the Gatun, on the Atlantic side, there's one set with 3 steps in one set of locks. They said that the ground rock here wasn't strong enough to support the weight of a single lock. So they divided it with this lake in between and split it up. I actually, one of the geologists that worked on the new canal was a really good friend of ours. And he did all this extensive surveying. And he said, man, I cannot believe the canal has not been paralyzed by an earthquake in history, because he said the fault lines. So right over there is where they made the expanded locks. You can't see it from here, but he said in the ground, the fault lines were incredible what they found there. Like, this is a heavily, we're near the, what is it? The Pacific Rim that goes all the way up to California, actually runs right through that. Yeah, right where the fault line that runs all the way down to Chile up to California. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. The plates. Yeah.
The way I learned the locks, each one of these lanes from ocean to ocean is one set of locks. The other side of this is the second set. That's why the new one is called the third locks.
That's exactly right. Yep. See, I like when the old guys are around, I get humbled. They do call the new locks the third cut. The yeah. The seasoned gentleman. Yeah. Yeah, so they actually, that's exactly right. It's actually 3 lanes, and they call the new expanded canal the third cut. As a kid, I used to actually play in the excavation that the Americans made, and we called it the third cut. Yeah. Yeah.
This question's amusing. I don't think this one's true. Is Colombia wanting back their breakaway province?
You know, actually, this year it's kind of weird that you asked that. I mean, I don't see that as a scenario, but the new Colombian president is a radical leftist guy, like hardcore communist, actually. And when he first got in, he actually made several highly insulting statements to Panamanians, something about the Darian was the best part of Colombia, or Panama is the best part of Colombia. And he made these statements that kind of made Panamanians a little jumpy, like what is his aims? But I don't see that as a reality. Definitely Colombia, if they ever tried anything here, they would not withstand the United States coming down right away. Yeah. But China is a different story. Yeah.
Built the new locks?
Panama built the new locks. Yes.
My question is, isn't there a country who's trying to do a railroad to avoid this?
Yes. So China's Belt and Road Initiative, they're doing ports and railroads all over Latin America.
Oh, I thought it was one specific country that they wanted.
They're doing it. Michael was just down. Where was that railroad that you just
we were just down in Argentina, Masako and I.
Yeah, they're trying to do a rail line down there. They're trying to do a huge rail line in Mexico. They were also investigating their own canal in Nicaragua. I believe that has been suspended. The cost was just too prohibitive, but they're looking into other viable ways of, and the other one that they're looking into is the ice pack in the north is less than it used to be, and you can actually get ships through the northern passage above Canada. And I do believe that's one of the reasons Trump is interested in Greenland, because China is interested, and so is Russia, in using the northern passage as an alternative to the Panama Canal. So that's another thing that's going on.
Because, like you said, with the drought we had, the amount of ships that were going through were so little that China's like, hey, let's do something so that they move.
Yeah.
The commerce moves, not the ships.
Yeah.
But the containers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Matthew. This is a long transit through Pedro.
Yeah, I'm sure they're waiting for something. Probably a ship coming in behind us.
Oh, maybe
Could be.
waiting for another ship.
Yeah.
Because they're waiting too.
Maybe they're,
Yeah.
they're waiting for somebody.
¿Para qué están esperando? ¿Un barco viene? Otro barco. Ah, okay. Yeah, we're waiting for another ship right now. Gracias.
Roads and all that, with the money the canal brings in, do you feel that there is a lot that's kind of
There's a good video back there.
Yeah, they do have road work to do here. It never ends. I mean, this is a tough country to maintain a road in because of the red clay. But I mean, definitely. So Panama is having trouble with their Social Security right now. The new president that just came in is saying that the Social Security, all the funds have just disappeared from the last administration, which was highly corrupt, and they're in a tight situation right now. Yeah, and they're actually debating on changing the retirement age and the amount of people's pensions, and they're going to come out with the final decision on this soon. And if it's bad for Panamanians, we can expect a lot of protests and a lot of trouble. Yeah. So that compounds all the pressure on Panama right now when Trump is saying, well, by the way, also, we're taking your canal at a time when they're in a critical financial bind, it's like, it's rough. Yeah, yeah, super rough.
David's having a look in the back right now to see if the ship's coming behind us. If so, we can take the camera back.
Okay.
He's having a look right now.
I don't know if you want to show that
Oh
on the
yeah,
camera.
Masako, if you look over there, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank-
It's coming in fast too. What's Michael's channel?
So right over here, guys, where Masako's filming, you're gonna see a Neo Panamax ship. This is a huge ship, and that is the new expanded canal that Panama
There's a
built.
ship coming right behind us. Michael Yon, Y-O-N. There's a big ship coming right behind us. Let's go back there.
Awesome. So this ship is steaming along in a additional lane, as the gentleman said. That's a third lane, actually. So we got this lane, that lane, and then there's the third lane.
For the Panamax. Is that what that is?
Yeah. This ship would not fit in the current set of locks that we're in right now. And by the way, these pilots, this is like the Panama Canal pilots that take these big boys through. It's a really hairy job. It's if I understand right, the chambers are 180 feet wide in the new locks, and they're taking ships up to 169 feet wide. And interestingly, the lock that they built on the Atlantic side does not have a center wall extending out on the lake entrance. So the pilot has to perfectly align that ship and get it in, and it is super hairball, especially if the wind is blowing out of the south on your stern. We're actually friends with, I grew up with the family of the Canal's most senior pilot right now. His name is Thomas Welch, and he's 81 years old, and he goes in there and he takes these ships through that set of locks. He's an absolute animal, just highest respect. He's 81, still climbs up the ladder, still works.
Climbing up the rope ladder.
Yeah, it's
The Jacob ladder, right?
these guys, they get on this, they enter the ship. The pilots have to enter the ships. They go up and it's moving fast, and they go up on a launch alongside the ship, and then they climb up on this rope ladder, super hairball. They go up the side, and pilots have died, by the way, falling in and drowning here in the canal.
And Mr. Welch still does it.
Yeah.
He's 81.
81, absolute animal.
Can you imagine climbing up a rope ladder up that thing while it's moving and you're 81 years old?
More heavy is that these ships, when they start moving, stopping them is you have a city under you, a literal city. And it is, I've been on them, and when you're on the bridge of that ship looking out, you can't even see the containers block all your view. It is hairball what these guys do.
There's a ship coming behind us right now. You want to walk back
we can
there?
go back there. Okay, I'll follow you. What? Yeah, no, just the pilot's up on that bridge, and picture all those containers in front of you. You don't even see the locks unless you go all the way to the side and you're looking and you're on the radio. It's a really hairball job. And they say that Aguas Claras locks going into Aguas Clara, there's no center wall. So what the pilots do, like this big long center wall that sticks out, they get up to that and they push up to it. They get nice and trim, and then they go in. It's a big help. To try and go in on your without it it's really hairball. Yeah, yeah.
It's really important that this big ship behind us stop before it runs into us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. No, you don't have to.
You can be the official. There's a big ship coming behind
Wow.
us.
Wow. Yeah, so this.
Stop, Lord. Sí,
Oh, gracias, disculpa. Lo siento. No queremos votarles. So
Matthew, wherever you
So
want to
This ship in the distance, if you can film that, Masako, this is a big car carrier coming in behind us. It's going to come right up to where we are. That thing is holding roughly 5,000 cars inside. And yeah, and from a piloting perspective also, those are another real bear to we followed you. So this ship is going to line up with the center wall to its left, to the port side, and it's going to get nice and straight and trim, and then it's going to start coming into the chamber, and it's going to come right up behind us. So the reason we're waiting for this ship and they're not locking us down alone is they're trying to maximize the use of the water. So they'll always lock up more than one ship whenever they can, because it saves water. Because once again, they're losing 52 million gallons of water into the Pacific Ocean when we do this transit.
I just read that Panama is auditing Hutchinson ports after Christmas.
Yes, I did hear that. That's correct. You are correct. They are doing an audit. I almost have a feeling that Trump is going to pressure Panama to close down that company. I really think something like that is going to go down at this point. So it's in the Panamanian news right now circulating that Panama Ports has not been paying their due tariffs to Panama. And so this is generated a audit. And I have a feeling the outcome of what's coming is going to be shutting that port company down. I have a feeling. I don't know, though. There's no way of knowing. So you can see this ship up here. He's got the wind coming to his stern, and that thing is like the sides of that thing are enormous, and they act like just a giant sail in the wind. And so he's got to get this thing nice and snug up against the wall before he starts coming into the chamber. Super intense job. And you know, another interesting fact, when the canal was given over to Panama, a lot of the American workforce, most of them all left. But there were, like that pilot I was just talking about, there were some that stayed, and they're still here to this day. They've been able to keep their jobs, and they still work for the Panama Canal Authority. And I believe there's like 12 Panama Canal pilots that are still American from the old days. I'm not sure what the number is exactly, but the rest of the pilot force are all Panamanians. Yeah. Does it send financial aid to Panama? Yes, the United States does give a degree of financial aid to Panama for sure. The United States also comes down here. We've worked in the Darian Gap with Panama's border patrol, which is called Senafront, which are really very professional, serious guys, and they train all the time with the U.S. military. The U.S. military does help them and train with them. It's in the U.S. interest in having a friendly border patrol here in Panama for sure, and they work together extensively.
Is this tugboat next to this big ship?
Yes, that's a tugboat.
Would you please explain what that tugboat is doing right now?
Yeah, so the pilot on this ship is directing the captain of that tugboat when to push and as he needs it. So he's trying to snug up right now on that center wall that's to the left side of the ship, and that tug is working with him. The pilot is that's another thing about the Panama Canal. An interesting fact as when the pilot in the Panama Canal boards the ship, he becomes the captain. He's the ultimate authority. That does not happen in other piloting scenarios throughout the world. the Panama, this is such a difficult route and so difficult to do that the captain actually has to surrender authority to the Panama Canal pilot. Another thing people have talked about is, well, what if the Chinese send a ship into the canal and blow it up? I mean, I suppose any scenario could happen, but the ACP, they send out ad measurers before these ships come into the canal, and they're thoroughly inspected, all of them. Ships don't just come in here at will. They don't just motorboat in. They're inspected. They have to have all their everything working correctly. If they have a problem with the rudder, there are accidents in the canal because ships lose steering. They lose steering.
They want to know what's the salary of a canal pilot.
Yeah, so the canal pilots, it depends on the hours they work, and it depends on their seniority. But thank you for all you're doing. They can make like $500,000 a year if they're very diligent and work really hard. It depends on the workload they take on. Actually, under Panama, the pilots make a lot more money than they did when the United States ran the canal. They actually make a significant amount more money. So I was starting to say something, I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, I was talking about so the ship hit the bridge. I was talking about the Panama Canal Railway Company. The Panama Canal Railroad, the first railway across the isthmus, as I talked about earlier, was built in 1855. That railroad eventually, it ran all through my childhood. I would go back and forth across the isthmus on that railroad. It wasn't the same, but it was an upgrade to it. But in the year 2000, when the canal was given over, a couple U.S. companies, how can I be forgetting the name? This is terrible. Kansas City Southern and MyJack Cranes. These are two huge U.S. companies. They got together and they made an offer to Panama to rehabilitate and operate the railroad line. And they put like, I don't know, I think it was $80 million modernizing the line and completely redoing it. And so now the railroad line is actually run by an American company, and they feed containers between the Pacific ports and the Atlantic ports. They augment the canal. They don't compete with the canal. It allows ships to take off certain containers and transfer it whereas they might not do a full transit. They can pull into the port, leave some containers, send it to the Atlantic side without doing a full transit of the ship. So it's actually an American company that runs the Panama Canal Railroad. It's coming in. My makeup artist. Tilly, I love you.
You good? I just want to make sure you're all right.
I'm so tired.
Geraldo.
Nothing like Friends. Nothing. So this ship is now straightened out and it's coming in, creeping along.
We just want it to stop before it gets to us.
It's going to stop right behind us, Lord willing. It's hard to stop the ship.
Yeah. When the ship doesn't stop. The question is, will the ship stop?
Which would be fine if they went that further.
So somebody was pouring a drink from the top deck
down to the bottom deck.
Us down in the bottom deck. Will the ship stop, Matthew? How fast is it going?
I don't know. It's probably doing about 1 knot right now. So it's hard to see yet, but you see on each side of that ship, there's 2 sets of locomotives, which are connected by cables to that ship.
I like the locomotives.
Yeah.
So we're in the Pedro Miguel locks. There you go. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, you can go right now. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can see it. What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Who's that? Sorry. Oh, that's probably a friend of Michael's. Yeah. It's Michael's live feed. It's Michael. Yes, go, Masako. Want me to hold the camera?
Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
So, everyone who are watching this live stream, if you don't know, Matt Tomlet. He's a very famous painter. He paints beautiful, beautiful paintings, and mainly the ships and canal. So, if everyone wants to see, where can we visit?
I do have an Instagram page. It's Matthew Tomlet, MATTHEWTOMLET. You can see some of my paintings there. I've painted a lot of paintings of the Panama Canal, which has been an honor over the years. And yeah.
I myself saw a lot of Matt's painting, and it's very, very beautiful. That's the real art. And if you want to see where his paintings are hung, please go on Panama Canal Railway. Matt's paintings actually on the Panama Canal Railway passenger cabin. So, and sorry. We are getting some drinks. So recently, what have you been painting?
I've been actually this year I've been doing one canal scene after the other. Actually, it's been crazy. Here in Panama, it's kind of fashionable to have, if you're like a businessman, like a nice big Panama Canal painting behind you in your office. It's kind of a macho thing. And yeah.
What's the biggest you have done?
The biggest, well, I've done murals on walls. I had actually the honor a few years ago of painting a mural inside the U.S. Embassy here So if you go into the consular section of the U.S. Embassy in Panama, you'll see a mural that I did, and you'll see one of my canvas paintings hanging in there. Yeah, so all the people trying to get visas get to see that. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So where else can we see your stuff?
So I have, yeah, I actually have a couple paintings in the presidential palace here in Panama. I'm really not, yeah, I have some in the admin building, several in the administration building of the canal. But Masako was saying, if you ever ride on the Panama Canal Railroad, I have some paintings in the dome car that I've done. Yeah, yeah. So it's Matthew Tomlet, MATTHEWTOMLET. I'm really not very famous at all. The Lord just keeps me going. I just quietly do my thing, and it keeps going. Yeah.
If it's okay, because I'm using this, I can show your maybe Instagram of your.
Oh yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
She's showing me your paintings.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored.
Someone said you're very gifted and humble.
Oh, I'll tell them thank you. Thank you. I'm like the guy that won the Humble Award, and then they gave him a huge medal that said humble, and he wore it around his neck every day. So here you can see the locomotives as it gets closer. Yeah. It is you can't see it on camera probably, but it is intimidating being here. Like, it's just ominous. The size of this ship. Oh, anyone you want, Masako. You're so kind. Thank you, Masako. Yeah, the first president to travel overseas, American president, was when Teddy Roosevelt came to Panama. That was a first time they used Air Force One. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Masako. Thank you, guys. You're making me blush.
Jason, can we swing by real quick? You want to get up there? You want me to get one with your phone?
Yes. There we go. Perfect.
These cables that go up to the ship are under incredible tension sometimes. And sadly, oh, okay, someone just joined. We're in the Panama Canal and the Pedro Miguel locks, and we're watching a big car carrier come up right behind us. And it's going to lock down with us towards the Pacific Ocean. Sometimes these cables break and guys get killed. The line handlers is a really, really dangerous job. These things break with such force, they'll rip a person in two.
Sorry, we're in your way. Sorry.
You want me to take it, guys?
London Highway. Oh, you're listening. Okay.
Thank you for your help.
Yeah. Is that a cool perspective?
That ship got very big.
Yeah, it did. Awesome. That's an awesome shot.
All right, check it out. That stuff was in the way. It was already trying to get that in the way.
Could you read this? What does it say on the side of it?
London Highway.
London Highway is the name of the ship. If
London
any of you guys
Highway.
have like what is the app? Marine traffic app. You can look at the live movement all the time in the canal. Okay, I'm gonna put this down. Michael, I'm gonna put this down for 1 second.
On the other side.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's your camera, Sue? Yes.
With a giant ship behind it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it so much. What's your first name? My husband, Jason. Jason. What's your last name? Did you guys go to 92? 92. What's your last name? Hernandez. Angie Hernandez. That's what I just said. But we did.
Because you guys both look real familiar, right?
Maybe from Alan. Her and I were being friends. Jason. Yeah, Angie and Jason. Yes, it's this fun. We just bought a place. I heard you guys live here.
Yeah, we bought a place here. So you're
So
gonna
we'll be coming back
retire
and
here
forth.
one day? Is that
I
the
think
hope?
so. It is.
Congratulations.
Well, part-time.
Yeah, she comes back and forth also.
We came down here in 1974.
So, question for you: we got a hard new apartment. We have a lot of blank walls.
I do prints too. If you don't want to spend more money on original, I also do prints. Yeah, I'll give you my cards.
I'll pick up the microphone. This is Michael again. That was Matt Tomlett talking before. I'm actually holding the camera too, so it's a little bit difficult to do. We're in a crowded boat. But as you can see, this giant ship behind us, London Highway, which you could look up on Maritime Tracker and see where it came from and where it's going to. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you. So Masako just got some water, and you should talk, Masako. Talk about things. Oh, I don't have anything to say. We are not down. Go ahead. Yeah, Masako's going to look in the questions and see if there's anything I can answer. I was told last night Secretary Rubio is coming down here next week. I don't have any meetings scheduled with him. And but we were going to go down to Darian on Sunday, but we may cancel that now for a few days. The Darian Gap is another part of this puzzle. believe it or not, fish go through these locks from sea to sea. And what's that? And monkeys too. Actually, last year we were going through the canal, and I see the crew up there throwing some food in the water. But last year we were going through the canal, and a monkey was swimming across in the open canal, not here in the locks. And actually, a giant ship like this, we have it on video, actually sort of hit the monkey and pushed it out of the way. The monkey was getting tired, but the monkey held on there. And then finally, somebody in a small boat, we were also in a small boat, somebody with a fishing net fished up the monkey and put him in a tree. And we were right there. The monkey seemed quite thankful that, but it got hit with a ship like this big. It was pretty huge. But it just pushed the monkey out of the way, and the monkey kept swimming and made it. I think all mammals can swim. All mammals, elephants, giraffes, whatever, from what I've read. Of course, I have no way to audit that. I know some humans can't swim, so that wouldn't be all mammals. But some humans can swim. I certainly can. I learned how to swim before I could walk. As we go through the canal, Masako, I haven't seen any Chinese.
I'm Japanese.
Oh, yeah, Masako's Japanese. Is there any questions that we can try to answer there?
Many people have joined.
Oh, thank you for joining, and thank you for those who have actually financially donated. I'm very bad about raising funding. I'm not somebody that can dance and sing or naturally asks for money, but that's how we have to fund all these things. Since 2005, I've actually run on donations. Started in the Iraq War. It's funny, people said at the time, they're like, you only went to the war for donations, which is, anybody who's ever been to war knows that that's a pretty ridiculous statement to make. But in any case, I was there in the war for more than half a year before I even thought about putting up a donation button on PayPal, which I did, and it was successful. So since that time, I've funded nearly all the efforts, almost everything from donations. Very helpful. Thank you. I see that we're dropping down lower. See, you see the ship. You see we're dropping down lower and lower. So we're getting deeper in the lock now because we have to get lower so that the lock gates can open to equalize the water. And there's been big competition through the years on people making canals around the world. So this goes back to centuries, actually, just like bridge building and church building and that's steeple building and that sort of thing, road building. There's been a lot of, national level competition and other levels of competition. And canal building was one of those things that there's canals all over the world, thousands and thousands. There's only a few that are famous, just like, people. There's many people and a few are famous, and it's the same with canals, right? For instance, the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal. They almost built a canal through Florida called the Barge Canal, and it was very controversial when I was a child. They never finished it, but it was called the Barge Canal, so the barges could go through. And, that was back during the days when a lot of people were building things like canals. And those days are not over, actually. Look at as we go deeper and deeper. See, we're going down, down, down. Earlier, you see the watermark up there. We could have jumped off the boat and swam and got to the top there, but not now. Now you'd have to be a rock climber that could climb on slippery rocks, and a very good rock climber at that. These are so old. I wonder how many thousands and thousands of ships have gone through this lock right here. It must be, I don't know. It's got to be in the hundreds of thousands or more. I don't know. You would have to go back to 1914 when it first started, and since then it's just picked up steam because, you know, once the canal was built, that helped economies grow, which meant more ships to go through the canals. It's interesting. That's how I learned this really firsthand in the Iraq War. Once you bring more electricity in, people buy more stuff that uses electricity, and then you need more electricity. So the act of electrifying something, or say building a canal, or, you know, actually creates the need for itself. Yeah, that's a good idea. But I would rather Matthew do it because he's more knowledgeable in that. And the same thing with books, by the way. Back when Gutenberg started with the printing press centuries ago, not that many people could read. But the more things that were printed, the more people wanted to read. The more people wanted to read, the more things that were printed. And the next thing you know, most people can read, and a lot of things are printed. So it's interesting how these things create themselves. Where is Matthew? It would be great if Matthew could talk actually with the ship pilot.
He's taking a right behind you, Michael.
He's doing what?
He's resting.
Matthew doesn't need to rest. He walked through the Darian Gap. You don't need to rest. You walked through the Darian Gap with Oscar Blue and Ben Berkwam. Oh, thank you. Matthew's tough. He's having an empanada. Look at that. Can you show that again? That the mule up there, as they call them, the train. Those are made in Japan, I think, right? Matthew, how much do those mules cost? Those are made in Japan, right? 3 million each. I thought it was 3.5, or something like that. I don't know.
Michael loves saying it's made in Japan.
Yeah, it is. Like Masako's made in Japan. It's like that Buck Owens song, "Made in Japan." Yeah.
I have a video of you singing that song, Michael.
Yeah. So here comes another mule behind it. And yeah, isn't that interesting? These mules, the train. The old ones, well, you can look in old photos and you can see that these aren't the original mules. And it's interesting too, like they use old communication systems that everybody can understand. They use those bells. So you see it on the side, there is a big brass bell on the side of each of these mules. And so they use like horns and bells, whistles, that sort of thing to communicate. It's much faster and very clear, and you don't make mistakes. No static when you ring the bell. Imagine doing this at nighttime with no moon and a heavy storm. I mean, they have lights out here, of course, a lot of lights, but imagine a heavy storm and heavy winds. You know, it gets pretty dicey for these pilots. And you can see the sides of the canal here are really well scraped. Yes, sir. Oh, the gates are opening on the other side. Do you want to walk over there so they can see them? Well, it looks like we're going forward already. So, yeah, the gates are almost already open. So we're moving. We're moving now. So we're going to go through the gates. So you might as well just do it from this side. It'll be easier because we're going to be through the gates very soon. And we'll just get them. We'll get the gates as we go through backwards. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So we're about to go through the gates, but we're obviously facing backwards. And so there's the gates we're going through. These gates are very sophisticated, actually, believe it or not. And the motors that control them are actually quite small because they're so well made. I mean, it's old engineering, you know. The old engineers knew what they were doing. It's like some of the best stuff we still use in the world was made so long ago. So there it is. We just went through the Pedro Miguel locks. The reason that took so long was because we were waiting on that ship to come. So we came in first and the ship wasn't there yet. Because normally you can get through the locks. So sometimes when I've come through, the ship is already there and we come behind the ship. This time we happened to be in front of the ship, and we had to wait for the ship. But yeah, when the ship is already there, it's very fast, because we come in, the locks shut behind us, and then we keep going. Let me see here. I think it might take only about 8 minutes to open and close the locks. I'm not sure about that. Let's see here. Let me look if there's any questions I can answer. I see a lot of people sending messages from other chats, but let me see if I can pull up any questions on Substack right now. I see a lot of people are joining. We got about 500 people on. I'm scrolling up to look for questions. Jeff Quinlan, can't thank you enough, Michael, for all you do. Thank you very much. So you were in 82nd and 12th group from 74 to 80. You got out before I even went through the Q course. We were in the Army when it was still really quite serious, actually. Darren Flinte, thank you, Michael Yon, for all. Thank you, Darren. Thank you very much. Off grid. Let's see. Yeah, thank you. Off grid. And let me scroll up. I'm looking for questions actually that I might be able to answer. Jeff says, glad it wasn't evergreen. There's a lot of evergreen goes through here. Jeff, like constantly, as you can imagine. Amazing that he's lived, and we know the Panama is smart. Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking for any questions I can answer. T. Chin's asking, what are you watching? We're going through the Panama Canal. And so we just went to the Pedro Miguel locks. And so next is the Miraflores locks. And right beside the Miraflores locks is the former Fort Clayton, which is the U.S. Army South headquarters, or used to be. But now it's the United Nations headquarters. And we suspect, but we don't know, that that the UN is preparing, in case they're kicked out of the United States, to increase their headquarters down here. We don't know that for a fact. We're just picking up some signal there, but we haven't dug down deeply enough to say if that's definitive. Let's see. I'm looking for any questions. I'm scrolling up. Oh, you don't need to keep that on me. You can keep it on the canal. Oh, Masako pulled up a bigger screen. Don't need to keep it on me. Nobody wants to watch me. Just watch the fish, watch the birds, watch the canal. Let's see. Sheila Dean. Michael Yon has an eagle's eye view to freedom in the interest of the Western Hemisphere. That's true. We do. Not just me, but others as well. What amazes me right now is that peace is always offensive to those who want more war. That's true. It's optimistically stunning how Donald Trump really revealed his global peace plan for Asia at Davos World Economic Forum. Reciprocity is a better deal. Trump will get us all a better deal. That's Sheila talking, not me. I hope Sheila turns out to be accurate on that. Let's see. There goes a tugboat. Those tugboat engines are very powerful. When you're on the shore over here on the side of the Panama Canal and these tugboats go by, they make some huge waves you wouldn't believe. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like they do here, but by the time, when you're on the shore, they hit pretty hard. And some of the big ships, when they go through as well, it makes like a minor tidal wave. You'll see like suddenly the water starts to go out like a tidal wave, and then it comes in like a minor tidal wave. So constantly as the ships and the tugboats come and go, you've got these minor tidal waves all over the sides of the canal. Here's a question. Actually, it's pretty small. I can read this in just a second. No need to keep it on me. I'm not what's important. Let people see the canal. They know what I look like. Let's see. Darren Fenty, is the influx of people coming into America still going at full force? We got word a few hours ago, just before we got on this boat, that there may have been a sharp decrease in the Darian Gap. We're not there right now. Darian Gap is about 6-hour drive from us right here. We were going to go on Sunday, but with the word that Rubio is coming, we may stay here a little longer before going down. But actually, I asked somebody this morning to, I asked somebody this morning to go out along the pathways and do a quick census for us about how many are coming through. So I might know as soon as I can get back on the phone. Yeah, I read that. Oh, let me read that. Okay, there's another question that came in. And I'm going to keep answering these questions as best I can. Yeah, I already read that one. Oh, a question from a follower. What was the cost of going through the canal? You know what? That's a question that there are a couple of people on this boat that can answer in detail. And we'll get to that later and I've been through this with them numerous times, but I would rather them answer. It's actually not a simple question, actually. You might think it would be a simple question, but it's not. One of the things that affects the price is how much water you displace, but and some other matters as well, whether you reserve a slot and things like that. But interestingly, too, even the Panamanian vessels that go through, the Panamanian government vessels that go through, actually have to pay to go through. And William says, what was your cost to go through? I'm actually not sure because every boat has a different price. The people that are coming in on this boat have to pay cost each. I think it might be $155 each, something like that. I'm not sure. But the boat has to pay a price to go through the locks. And nobody gets a break, actually. Not the U.S. Navy, not the Chinese Navy, not the Japanese Navy, not the Panamanian Cinefront and the rest of Cineval and all the rest that go through here. They actually have to pay too, believe it or not. So because the Panama Canal Authority was actually separate from the government. Yes. Oh, there's the new canal. Yeah, can you see it over there? So that's the Panamax. You see that giant ship over there? We saw that ship earlier. Yeah. So that's the other canal. That canal on that side, and those locks were actually built by Panama with the money that they made from the canal. So look at the size of that ship. It's unbelievable. So once the Neo Panamax, when that canal was opened, that created more of a market actually for those sorts of ships. That's another one of those cases of, once you create the system, that it creates a market for itself or increases that market. Here comes a small boat behind us. See, that boat will have paid to go through too. Whoever owns it has to pay to go through. Every little boat. Obviously, the tugboats don't have to pay to go through because they're part of the system. But all the other boats, unless you work for the Panama Canal Authority, you're paying to go through. That's at least what I've been told. There's crocodiles out here, by the way, and there's many sloths in Panama. They're pretty interesting. Tons of monkeys of various sorts, many, many animals. Look at the birds. This place is incredible for birds. Panama is a wonderful place for birders. Birders love Panama. Let me see if there's other questions here that I can answer. Audio must have gone out because Amanda said audio is back, but that was a while back, apparently. Let's see. Let me scroll to the bottom and see if there's any new questions there. I see a lot of people are joining. I'm glad you're joining. And I'm very thankful to the people who are actually donating occasionally. Actually, I don't believe it or not, get much donations because I don't ask for them much. I should do it more because I really need it, and because it's very expensive to do these things. And as you can see, a lot of the things that you see big names reporting actually came from our team first, because we take a lot of people to places like all across the Texas border or the U.S. border, and also Darian Gap. We've taken 50 or 60 people down here. We took 2 congressmen. We took Epoch Times, Laura Loomer, Brett Weinstein, Chris Martinson. Epoch Times. How many? Oh, good Lord, so many. 50 or 60. And we still do take people all the time. Like David Tice flew in yesterday to come with us, and David did the incredibly important movie Grid Down, Power Out. It's a movie that everybody should watch. Grid Down, Power Out. Thank you for sharing this out there. Let's see. Jeff Quinlan says, "Wait, hold on. Oh, sorry. Thanks. Masako's helping with the microphone here." Jeff Quinlan said, "I'm still in great physical shape. If you need me, hablo español. That can be helpful. I did 40-day water fast, man. That's excellent. In 98. Actually, you did a long fast, and I'm sure that, when you do I did a 40-day fast as well, and it was actually a really great experience. It wasn't difficult, actually, weirdly. Yeah, I know that may sound crazy, but it wasn't really that difficult. So he says, Jeff Quinlan says, be careful. Some friends of mine destroyed their metabolism. Now they're huge, have read all the books you mentioned on famines a few years back. Totally in agreement with your thoughts on Abbott and Trump. Yeah. Well, as you can see, if you've read all those books that I've mentioned, that's a lot of books. And I'm sure that you've really enjoyed a lot of these books, like Creature from Jekyll Island and The Path Between the Seas and Innumeracy, Rape of the Mind. Oh, good Lord. Like the Bible, I was reading that when I was fasting. Man, that was great. That you see so much old wisdom there, that just old stuff that all is still true. You would think, a lot of people think all the old stuff is outdated, but it's actually the opposite. The reason why it still survives is because it provides ways of living that, help people survive. If it helped people die, if there was a Bible for, people doing drugs, then they wouldn't be alive still, because that book would die out pretty quickly with the people that, those books from the 60s, they're not going to last for 200 years. They're not going to, because the people that, read those old, let's do LSD type books, those people, they burn out, they fry up, they don't do well. Seth Calloway says, nice day for a cruise. Keep spreading the word. I will. Thank you, Seth. It's not just me. Masako Kanaha has been holding the camera the whole time. She's tough as well. She's been into the Darian Gap a good dozen times or so, on the Colombia side, actually, and the Panama side. Masako actually opened a lock last week. She opened Agua Claris lock. We got into the control tower. They let us in, and it's very well run. Very professional organization, and just super clean. It was like, going to mission control for a rocket or a very serious military headquarters. And the people running it were like, you could, the moment you walk in, you can tell you're in the presence of professionals. We were there for a while, and they were telling us how things work. And then one of them asked Masako if she wanted to open the lock, because there happened to be a ship coming through at the time. And it was just a couple of clicks with the mouse, and the lock opened. Masako.
Yes.
What do you have to say
About
everything? We're going to the Miraflores locks now soon, and so that means we're coming up on the. Well, we're coming up on the old Fort Clayton. We're coming up on the UN headquarters to to the left of the camera, right in front of me. So if you push the camera on it, people can see the UN headquarters, which needs to be shut down. You know, Tom Homan called a few weeks ago, and everybody I know that knows Tom Homan says he's deadly serious, that he's a very serious man. I only know him from one phone call, so it's not like we're old buddies. But I know a lot of people that do know him and say he's very serious. And I shouldn't say a lot of people I know, but I don't know, maybe a half dozen, quite a few that know him personally, worked with him, that sort of thing. And I asked Mike Flynn what he thought of Tom Homan, and he gave him good creds. And he actually told me that President Trump is, he is putting his number one effort on closing the border. And, if when that's coming from somebody like Flynn, it's serious, right? And Mike Flynn wants to close the border very much. He's always wanting to know what's going on at the border and what we specifically need to do to close it. And you don't see this publicly, but there's some people like Flynn, you can just tell late at night, he's working on things like the border. He's thinking about it. He's gathering the information that's needed to do things. And he's very concerned about this canal. This canal, obviously, that we're on right here. We are in the Miraflores Locks right now, one of the most important places on planet Earth. We are in the Miraflores Locks. And so to our right over here, beyond the locks, there's a building in the way, but beyond all that is the United Nations headquarters that's running the invasions through South America and through here, Panama, which is damaging Panama very badly, and running it all the way up to Costa Rica, damaging Costa Rica, all the way up into Canada, right? And Europe on that side. And also the United Nations has a big headquarters in Philippines and Manila where they're doing it there too. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's okay. And so there's a snowy egret. These, I love bird watching. And so the United Nations, I've told many people this. I've told Tom Homan and, of course, Mike Flynn and many others that when we're really serious about closing the borders, first, we obviously have to deport tens of millions. But we have to close the United Nations. We have to defund them, and we have to start to dismantle United Nations. Not just defund, we need to dismantle. We need to take them out. And that means start arresting people who are involved in the human trafficking. United Nations, the IOM, their office is actually I just saw it through a crack through the buildings here. The IOM headquarters, it's building 110 in the City of Knowledge, which is right in front of me. These buildings are in the way. It's hard for you to see it with the buildings. But the IOM literally hands out rape kits because so many men, women, and children get raped going through their routes that through the Darian Gap, that they just get raped like crazy down there. So the IOM, in their humanitarian ways, the ones who create the rape conditions, they're the ones, they also hand out rape kits, which include male and female condoms and abortion pills. And it's unbelievable. We got a few of those kits, actually. So here it is. The Miraflores Locks were coming through. Oh, here's a bunch of tourists.
Don't you want to put the camera on the lock open?
If you want to, yeah. Let's put David suggests we put the camera up on the lock opening. Wait, what locks are these? This isn't Miraflores, is it? It is Miraflores. Okay, right. So here's the tourist right here. You want to go up front? Let's do it.
You want me to carry that?
Yeah, can you carry that? And I'll take this out. You take the microphone and talk because I've been talking. Nobody wants to hear me. They need to hear you. Okay. I'm just talking to take up dead space. Y'all need to be talking.
All right, so this is David Tice again. I tell you, we need a standing ovation from Matthew. His expose that he gave about, the workings of the Panama Canal, his wisdom going back to his childhood. and he is
I'll bring the battery in. This battery's dead.
a gentleman who understands all the workings politically as well as the engineering side of all this. So now we're going to show the lock opening. This is the second lock. It's pretty amazing seeing the narrow clearing space of that massive container ship.
Keep on talking.
Yeah, so we're coming up on lock number 2.
There's a lot of gossip. That means, right? Doesn't tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Yes.
Talking to the camera, what do you think?
What do you think? I think it's awesome. Everything's cool.
Yeah.
Yes, everything is nice. Everything, Panama's nice. Everything is good. I love the canal. The canal is going here, man. It's fun. You should try it, guys. You should try it one day. Just put the money down and just stay. Don't worry about it. One day out of your life, you remember this for the rest of your life.
Now, are you a Zonian?
Yes, I'm a Zonian. I'm from Balboa. Then I moved to La Boca. So I'm both of them. That's why I got the Zonian from him. My dad's a teacher. If you know anybody, my dad's a teacher for Kundu.
What's your name?
Daniel Reyes.
Okay, Daniel.
My brother, I have 2 brothers, Ramon, Alex Reyes, that plays in Shorty and Slim, and Monica Reyes. Everybody knows my sister a lot because she's very a Zonian person and she loves the Zonians. So like that.
That's not good.
Yes, it is.
That could be taken the wrong way. Of course, you're not saying it that way.
No. Oh, no laughing, man. So, but it's really good. I've been all my life here, 56 years old, and I'm getting older. And I've been here all my life, and I love it. And I never left Panama because I don't know. I just love the area, and I've been here, and I'm accustomed to it.
But as Rebecca said, you're not older. You're just more experienced.
Yeah. What Rebecca? You know, Grimacon?
They know me as Becky.
Oh, Becky. I know a bunch of Grimacons, you know. Yeah, the Grimacons are my friends. Yeah, so we live here. We come here all the time, and my sister always goes to the Canal reunion. They come here to the reunion, and we love everybody, everything about it.
How long you been in Panama?
56 years old.
All right.
I've been there 56 years old in Panama, and I know the Canal because I love the Canal history, and not so much the Canal history, but the way they lived, the way they moved, all the stores, all the places I went to, all the little stores. You know, I went to go DEH to get stuff, and I went to different places to get stuff to fix my houses and everything. And my dad worked as a teacher. You know, my dad, Mr. Reyes, the tall one, Mr. Reyes for Kundu. Everybody doesn't know Mr. Reyes. Mr. Reyes is a teacher that knows everybody and taught me all his friends that from school. So he's a very famous person. He was there from the 70s all the way to around 90s, and then all the way, and then he retired. So he's still here and everything. So I've been here for all this time. My dad's really good in sports, so a lot of people knew him about sports. And know him about the basketball team that he had for Kundu Junior High School.
And he played in the Panama Olympics.
So and plus my dad played in the Panama Olympics and everything. But that's one history of Panama. My dad is really big here and stuff like that. So, that's me. And I love everything.
Thank you so much.
So take it easy, have fun.
Now
I'll see you later.
Yes. Now we're going to go over to Becky.
Oh, dear.
So Becky has had this amazing experience.
Am I alive?
She's married to Matt, who provided some great analysis of the canal, but Becky has a great take on things from her father and mother. She's been here a long time. So why don't you say some of your story, Becky?
Yeah. So I completely confirm everything that my husband has already said, which is, if you have heard what he said, he's got a very good balanced view. He came to Panama in 74. I came in 76, and I've had the amazing privilege of living in this gorgeous country. And so even though after the treaty, there was clearly some different things that took place, some of my dearest friends are Panamanians, and I am so blessed to live in this country. And so we're super thankful to the Lord that he's kept us here all this time. We've been married over 25 years now, and it's been a blessing. Our kids have been born here. We're born here. They're 20 and 18, so they have a Panamanian passport and an American passport, and we love that, and they love that. And
So I want you to amplify a little bit more on
Yeah.
your background. How old were you when you got here? And I heard you're a PK.
I am a PK. So a PK is a shortened abbreviation for pastor's kid. So we have a special story. My twin brother and I were born in upstate New York. And when we were 5 years old, my dad came into our kitchen and said, how would you guys like to go live at a place where there is an amazing waterway right behind your bedroom where hundreds of ships go back and forth throughout the day? And also there's a train that also goes back and forth several times a day. And so my brother and I, we were in the mountains of upstate New York, and we just thought that that was the most amazing thing. So my parents said, we are going to Panama, and for 2 years. Next year, it will be 50 years since we've been here. So my father is 83, my mother's 82, and next year they will have pastored the church in Gamboa for 50 years. And it's been an incredible blessing because Panama is the crossroads of the world. And so there's so many international people coming in and through continually. And so we have the amazing blessing and privilege of getting to meet people from all backgrounds and hear their stories. And so it's been a really, really special thing to get to live here. Yeah.
Amazing. I told you that was an amazing story. I'd say we still have 15 minutes to kill. So you've got so many stories, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
How many Chinese have you seen like running the canal and opening locks, etc.?
There's beautiful Chinese people in Panama that work here, but there's absolutely none of them that are running the Panama Canal. End of story.
That's interesting. Exactly what your husband said.
Yeah.
And there certainly should be a peaceful way to get through all this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm going to try to read something because my answer to all of that question and all of that situation that is firing off right now in a very, very high level way is, well, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to take my glasses off. So it's a verse out of Colossians. And this is my answer to all of the conflict that's going on right now. And the only way that anybody's going to have a compass and actually long-lasting, strong wisdom on this entire subject is to actually look in the Word of God and see what it says. So here's a verse from Colossians, and it says, see to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition and the elemental spiritual forces of this world rather than on Christ. For in Christ, all the fullness of the deity lives in bodily form, and in Christ, you have been brought to fullness. He is the head over every power and authority. I'm going to read that last phrase again. He is the head over every power and authority. So as we're standing here in this amazing, one of the 10 wonders of the world in the Panama Canal, that's the answer to all of the things. There's too many aspects. There's too many components to this. We love Panama. We love the United States. There cannot be a blanket answer except look in the Word of God and see what He says. Then you will have the exact understanding and wisdom you need for the situation.
So that's such great wisdom. And I
Yeah.
also wanted you to provide a little background for you and Matt.
Yeah.
I've only known you guys for a couple hours, but am I correct by saying you're both conservatives, America firsters, and really backers of Donald Trump generally all the way? Is that true?
I would say many aspects of it.
Yeah.
But, just like what I read, our only firm foundation can be in Christ. And as we get closer to Christ's return, unless anybody is bowing their knee to the Lordship of Christ, they can make serious errors. So we voted for him. We love him. He's an amazing man, but there's some serious things that are going on. And he's at a precipice, and he's in a situation where he's being crowded by some very, very strategically wicked men. And if he does not bow his knee and listen to what God says, he just has the capacity to be in error like every other person. So yes, we support him and we pray for him, and we're looking to God for him to give him wisdom to lead this nation. He's in a very, very strategic hour of history where he needs the wisdom of God, and that's the most important thing right now. So
That
that's
is-
my answer.
That is such amazing wisdom, and I
Yeah.
so pray for those comments to go viral.
Yes, amen. We do love him and we pray for him. Absolutely.
So Matt, talk to us a little bit. We're waiting for the lock to open. Currently, tell us about this lock.
So this is the last. We're going down to the Pacific Ocean, and actually, it's a little far to see in the camera, but up there is the Pacific Ocean level. So when we get there, we'll have gone downwards 88 feet, and so we got these last couple steps to do. We're going to have to once again wait for that ship to come in behind us and do the whole thing again that we just did. Yeah. Were you guys able to film the dropping and see the dropping along the walls? And yeah, you guys filmed all that? Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I understand it fell 29 feet, was it?
I think,
And
yeah.
eventually 87 something.
88 feet altogether. Yeah. So the canal used to sit at when it was completely full, it was at 85 feet. But when they did the expansion, they made it so it could go an extra 3 feet deeper just to keep more water in the reservoir. So they try and fill it now all the way up to 88 feet. Yeah, and that also gives more draft for the ships, more depth for the ships. During last year's water crisis, it got so bad they had to have the ships, the bigger ships, couldn't come through under a full load because they were too deep. So they had to come through lighter. And the canal bases its fee on the cargo capacity of the ships. It's not like $10 a ship. I'm just rounding that off. It's actually, they go on and they have calculations for how much that ship is actually carrying, and then they base the fees on the cargo capacity. Yeah. And they actually had, during the water shortage, they had a huge backup of ships. It was taking over 2.5 weeks sometimes for ships to get through. It was a real big problem. Yeah. That they've got to fix.
Amazing. How about your wife? Was that an amazing commentary?
Amazing commentary. I agree with her wholeheartedly. Yeah. And if I don't, she'll kill me. No.
You're a lucky man.
I do. I am. She has the face for television. I have the face for radio. I think Michael wanted to interview the pilot. I don't know if he's still thinking of that.
How about, I'd love to get a few words from Carl. Carl over here has quite a bit of experience, doesn't he? Carl, step up to the mic. I want you to talk to us just a second. Are you camera shy? No, you're not going to talk? Okay. There's a guy over here who's a little camera shy that doesn't want to talk about it. Yeah. But anyway, so are we going to talk to the captain?
Okay, we'll go up there. We're going to have to go up.
It's a gorgeous day. It's only about 83 degrees.
I am. You guys have been very kind and patient. Thank you.
I'm becoming a tourism director about come to Panama. Amazing people here. Great. They use the US dollar here.
Pardon.
Okay, we're going to go up.
I'm watching you guys.
So,
I'm watching. Yeah, go do it. I'm gonna watch you guys.
all right.
I'm learning.
You want me to go first?
It's like my TV show.
I'll go first. Okay, we're going up the stairs. We're going to see if we can talk to the captain. Mr. Captain? So this is Michael Yon. He's on Substack. I was wondering if we could talk to you for a few seconds. You're what? As a captain. Okay. Yeah.
Él habla inglés.
Does he speak?
Okay.
Does he,
This is the pilot.
no English?
Not him, but that's the pilot.
Yeah.
You guys-
Mr. Captain, my name's David Tice. I'm working with Michael Yon. We're on Substack right now. We wanted to get you over the airways. A lot of Americans are listening and watching right now. You'd rather not talk? Okay. Okay. How about without the camera on you? Okay. 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 So, well, thank you anyway for keeping us safe today, and we appreciate it. All right, we tried. How about what a gorgeous day this is? Again, we can see the locks. We're maybe 10, 15 minutes away from the locks opening. We're waiting for another ship. Matthew, carry on a little bit about what's going to happen here.
Yeah. So if you look up ahead of us, we've got the next. Thank you, Dave. Up ahead of us is the next chamber that we're going to go descend down into.
So actually what's happening here, the water level is dropping, right?
It's not dropping yet. Behind us, that ship's got to come up to us again, just like last time. He's going to come right up to us. Then they're going to close the gate behind him, and together we're going to go down to that level up there in front of us. And that will put us at the level of the Pacific Ocean. You okay, Masako?
So this is the end of the canal, and we will be
in the
into
Pacific
Ocean.
Yeah, exactly. Over there, where that big ship is in the distance, that's the expanded canal, and that ship is inside the locks, the Kokali locks, it's called, of the expanded canal. I don't know where the name comes from. I wish I could tell you.
So Matt, I would love you to amplify a little bit further about the sun setting, sun rising in
the Pacific and setting on the Atlantic.
Yeah, so walk me through that. I'm a slow learner. I still didn't quite get that,
So-
and how that is unusual.
Yeah, so most people, they look at a map and they see Atlantic on one side, Pacific on the other. So they think the canal will go this way, east to west, but it actually doesn't. It actually goes north to south because Panama hooks around at a strange angle, and the canal, the Atlantic is up here and the Pacific is below it. So as the earth turns, for whatever reason, that contorted angle makes the sun rise over the Pacific Ocean and set over the Atlantic Ocean, which is really bizarre. It's hard to wrap your head around it. Yeah, but that's what happens here.
Interesting.
That hill up in the distance, that's Ancon Hill. That is where the U.S. military had their headquarters. The Southern Command was operated from that hill, and there's actually tunnels inside. And they tell me that during Just Cause, that's where they ran the whole operation inside those tunnels and did the whole thing. Colin Powell was in there, I was told.
Now, what was Just Cause?
So during the 1980s, Panama had a dictator named Manuel Noriega that came to power, and he was a really bad dude, and the country progressively just went through a really, really hard time that seemed to get worse and worse. And they say that Noriega, he actually declared war on the United States, and the United States, with all the bases here, they tolerated it, but he had the country completely on its back. It was a really dark time for Panama. And there was an incident, there were several incidences, but one of them where a couple U.S. soldiers were killed by him down in the city. And the United States said, okay, finally. And there was a terrible thing when the vice presidential candidate, Billy Ford, it was a famous incident where he was in the city, and Noriega, he was an opposition guy. He was a real Panamanian patriot, and he was opposing Noriega. And Noriega, his party had won the election, but Noriega said, no, I'm not stepping down, basically. And Noriega had some of his thugs hold him up in the city. They killed his bodyguard, and they beat him with a pipe. And that came out on world news everywhere. And there was this really gruesome images of him he was in a guayabera, just covered in blood, soaked in blood.
This is
And
Noriega?
Noriaga's thugs did that. It wasn't him himself, but
to this vice presidential candidate.
yes. And it was it really kind of catalyzed the world that, man, something has to happen here. And the Panamanians really wanted him out. And so the U.S. one night in December, just before Christmas, they sent I think it was just after Christmas. I'm actually forgetting right now. They sent a whole bunch of troops into the country, and they cleaned up the Noriega guys. They got rid of them. And Noriega wound up hiding out in the Catholic, inside the Catholic Church as a refuge. And so there's this long story of how they surrounded it with loudspeakers and just tried to blast him out. And he finally came out and surrendered, and they extradited him and took him to jail. And so they called that Operation Just Cause. And it was sad because Panamanians were killed. People died during that. Some U.S. service members were killed. But really, it had to happen. The guy had to go. And Panama, since getting rid of him, the growth in the country has just exponentially it allowed Panama to finally thrive.
Give me a feel on that time frame. How long was Noriega
in power? I wish I was young then. I want to say he was around about 8 years. I want to say he was in power, and there were a lot of really brave, patriotic Panamanians that tried to get him. There was a couple attempted coups that didn't go well, and it was a really dark time in Panama's history for sure. Yeah.
And he was extricated about when?
So they took him. It's a long story what happened to him. He had committed crimes against the United States, and they took him to the United States. So I want to say he did 15 years there. I wish I knew the numbers correctly, but then he was in France for a while, serving prison term in there.
When was it that he left Panama?
That was in 1989.
1989.
Yeah.
So not that long ago.
No. And then he wound up getting brought back to Panama, and he finished. We just passed the prison a couple hours ago at the Renacer prison in Gamboa. He wound up living out his last days in that prison. Yeah.
And a story about how Becky's father somehow.
So Becky's father was a pastor he was going into that prison all the time to help the prisoners, and he actually met Noriega and talked to him, and Noriega wound up in the end dying of I think it was a brain tumor or something. He died a few years ago. But he killed a lot of people here, did a lot of really bad things to this country. It was a brutal time.
So I wish I had Becky here again, but was her father successful in talking to him about Christ?
Yes, he did several times. And I know Panamanians, it's hard to forgive someone like that as for what he did to this country, but he did talk to him several times and he prayed with him. Before Noriega died, he came out publicly and apologized to Panama. Whether, a lot of people, it was a hard apology to accept, after what he did to this country, but he did do that, and he wound up dying like a couple years after that. Yeah.
So I understand from talking to your mom, there's a film coming out
Yeah.
in the next few days about
Yeah.
Noriega. Can you talk
Yes.
about that?
So if you want to read a fascinating book about the whole Noriega, some of the history, it's not the whole, it's some. And it had to do with an American citizen. He grew up in the Canal Zone also, that joined the resistance against Noriega. And the book is called 6 Seconds to Freedom. And it's the story of this guy, Kurt Muse. And my mother is good friends with another character in that book. His name is Tito Muñez. He still lives here in Panama. And these guys they got together to hassle Noriega. And they were really good with radio communications. And they were using the radio communications to harass the PDF forces. And they would do things like make a fake call to them and say, hey, there's something here. And they were just harassing them to give them a hard time. And it's just a fascinating book to read. It's a fascinating book to read. It's a page turner. It's not boring at all. And this guy, Kurt, wound up getting arrested by Noriega's guys and put in the Cárcel Modelo, which was one of the most brutal prisons. And it just tells the whole story of what happened. It's a really amazing book to read.
Well, did they turn this into a movie that's coming out?
It should be a movie, but I don't know that. So there is a documentary coming out, and I'm forgetting the name right now, that it's in Spanish, but it has a bunch of these guys in it telling their story. It's going to be coming out this week in theaters. Yeah. La Señal, La Libertad. So, yeah, people should see it. I haven't seen it yet. I know that our friend is in it, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, so here it is. It's playing in theaters.
It's coming out in Panamanian theaters. I don't know if it's going to get a worldwide release or anything like that, but yeah, it's coming out.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we should probably get your mom on camera as well. Do you think
I can ask her.
Rejected a couple times already.
She's a little shy.
I'm not doing well.
She's a little shy.
Producer, director, first stint in Panama. Getting rejected. So we'll try your mom.
Okay.
All right.
So we got the ship coming
the
up.
ship's getting closer. It seems they kind of have stalled for a while, right?
Yeah. It's taking its time. It's a delicate move getting up against that wall.
Now it seems like it was even narrower before the other lock, right?
It's the same.
Oh, it
It's
was the same?
width. Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly
So
the
what's
same.
the clearance, between the wall and the ship right now? 3 feet?
Probably about 3 feet on each side, maybe 2.5 feet. It looks close to that. 3 feet.
And I think I heard the quote that it could be 180 feet at some level, and the ship might be how wide?
So the new locks is 180 feet wide. This chamber is 110 feet wide. So the maximum size they're taking in the new locks is 169 feet wide. So that's really big, really serious. The pilots tell me it's scary. It's heavy duty. Yeah. Especially the real unique thing about the new locks is in Aguas Claras on the Gatun side, there's no center wall. If you're going north, when you're going into that locks, you have to get in there without being able to, like he's doing right now, shore up against the center wall, get yourself nice and straight, then you can go in. There they got to just go straight in. And when the wind is out of the south, coming to the side, to the stern, it's a real heavy maneuver. And they say it's it's a yeah, it's scary. Yeah.
So what is the ship width maximum for this 110?
I'm not exactly sure. I want to say probably 107, 108. I don't think they do much bigger than that.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
So that's only a 3-foot total.
Yeah, yeah. And so when these ships go into the chamber, a whole ton of water gets compressed in front of the ship, and it has to travel along the side of the ship. And as a kid, when my dad would take me through, I would stand there and watch, and you could look down and you could see all the water just gushing from the pressure because it builds up in front of the ship and it's got to get out behind the ship. It's crazy. Even in the lake, when the ships are traveling through the lake, we used to hang out on the islands with my kids and stuff, and there were beaches there. And when that ship would come by, even if it was like really far away from you, it would cause a big surge in the water all around the islands. It's just a big volume of mass traveling through there. And when it goes through a tight space, it becomes very noticeable. Yeah.
Now, your dad was a captain navigating these ships through here, right?
He was a pilot. Yeah. Yes.
So, tell me stories.
So
when you were like 6 years old, 9 years old.
So back in the old days, before security measures or anything, I could go to work with my dad and we would climb up the ladder on the side of the ship. And it was a really unique job because every ship had its own nationality on that ship. And it would be suddenly like you'd get on that ship and you were in another country. It was either all Greek or Chinese or Russian, and you'd be eating their food. And so that was my dad's world every day. And as the pilot, something unique about Panama Canal pilots is when they get on, they become the captain. Their authority supersedes the captain of the ship. That doesn't happen in other piloting scenarios in the world. That's unique here in the canal. And the reason they do that is because it's such a complicated, difficult job to do here that they need that authority to take charge of the situation. Yeah. Yeah.
So you remember stories when you were...
I went through on a Russian Soviet Union era ship. They had the dark guys in the corner that were monitors. I remember this very clearly. My dad took me on one of those ships because even during the Cold War, the United States allowed the Soviet Union to use the canal. And it was a real interesting experience. Yeah. I went on Chinese ships. I went on Korean ships, Norwegian ships. It was a real unique job.
So were there investigations? Were there searches made? If there was weaponry or contraband?
I know that before every ship transits, they send the ACP will send an inspector, an ad measurer out to that ship. Part of his job is calculating the cargo capacity of that ship, but they do inspect the ships. There's nothing coming in here that's not inspected thoroughly before they come in. So with the whole China thing, people say, oh my gosh, someone can, it's not like people are just driving up and can come on into the canal without a lot of paperwork and security, and it's very well controlled. Yeah.
Who is in charge of that investigation? Is that the
The,
Canal
the authority, yes, they do all of that. And once again, at the ports that are the big Chinese ports that everyone's talking about right now, those are Panama Canal pilots from the Panama Canal Authority that are docking those ships on those piers. It's not Chinese, it's not somebody else, it's controlled by the canal. Yeah, everything is done with the canal's permission.
Now, earlier in our podcast, you talked about how we need to be wary about the Chinese. And again, we're not talking about the Chinese people, we're talking about the CCP. And it seems like one of the vulnerabilities might be if the CCP has somehow compromised those Panama Canal authorities.
Yeah.
And therefore, letting weaponry in.
Yeah.
Are you at all worried about that?
I mean, that could, in a wartime scenario, yeah, that could be a serious situation. It could possibly be, definitely. Yeah, they're gonna have to work this one out for sure. I have a feeling, although I can't say, I'm only guessing. I did see in the news, and someone had mentioned it earlier, they've started an audit of this Hutchinson Wampau company. And I think, I have a feeling the U.S. is going to push to get those companies out of here. I just have a feeling. I could be totally wrong. I don't know how to read it. This is all kind of started only within the last couple of weeks, but I have a feeling they're going to get rid of those ports.
Oh, get rid of those.
That company. Have a feeling. Yeah. Because Panama's got its back up against the wall. I mean, and Panama, I keep saying it, is an ally to the United States, and they're gonna help. They're gonna do the right thing in the end. I believe that.
Again, all this is very nuanced, and the devil's in the details.
Yeah, yeah, and we don't know as little people what's really going on. Just hard to know how to read it. It really is, but something's gonna happen. Something's gonna give, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we can see the ship is getting closer and closer. And is the water level about to start dropping now?
As soon as that ship gets up, it's going to get to a certain point, and it's going to stop right behind us. Once it fully stops, they'll close the gates behind it. And underneath the locks, the water, there's big pipes underneath us here. The water's going to drain out and go into the Pacific Ocean, and we're going to drop just by gravity.
So we now have Becky back on the scene. I want you to join your husband. So we were talking about Noriega and about his history, and about, very, very bad for Panama, and your husband very lucidly explained. And I was asking him about your father, how he actually counseled him in prison. So I'd love you to tell a story from your lips about what you heard from your dad.
Yeah. Well, I would say I need to get the date a bit clearer, but it was at least 25 years ago.
I think it was 25 years ago that Just Cause happened. They just celebrated the 25th anniversary, right? It was the 25th anniversary just this year.
Yeah. So actually 35.
Was it 35? Yeah. Oh yeah, it's 35. Sorry. It was 25 that Panama has been operating the canal. They just celebrated 2 milestones. 35 years ago, they had Operation Just Cause, got rid of Noriega. And it was the canal they just celebrated, the Panamanians have been operating the canal for 25 years. They had those ceremonies like a week apart just recently.
That's true. So I would say at least 30 years ago, my father will be able to clarify this more, but he had a specific dream, like a very vivid dream, that he was talking to General Noriega, and that he was speaking to him, and he was sharing with him about the gospel, about how even with all of the horrific things that he had done, that there was the hope of salvation for even somebody as wicked as the worst wicked man, if he would put his hope in Christ. So my dad had a dream that he was actually explaining John 3:16 to him. And of course, he never in the natural thought that would ever be a possibility of happening. But it was in the year 2010.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, 2012. I need to get that date straight, but it was a full 20 years later that he actually got to meet with the general. And then it was about 8 more times.
So give me the backdrop. That was in prison, and essentially his home.
Exactly, yes. And to make that much clearer, yes. The Renacer prison is 5 minutes from where my parents live. And that was where General Noriega was put. In what year do you remember, Matt? This was after he had gone to France, after he had gone to Miami, and then he was brought back to Panama. And that was an enormous,
I want to say,
yeah,
but I could be
that
wrong.
was an enormous thing that happened. And we never thought, there's several prisons here in Panama, we never thought that he would be brought out to the Renacer prison in Gamboa. It's just like, 1 minute before the Gamboa Bridge. So it's right on the outside. It was a former Canal Zone penitentiary. And so he was given a special area because there was a lot of people that wanted to take his life, obviously. And so it was under very unusual circumstances. A youth team from South Africa had come to Panama and to just share the gospel with people. And my dad was hosting them. And one of the days that my dad would visit the prison, because he visited he had led a Bible study in the prison for over 30 years. And one of the days that he went in there, he was with his South African team, and a miracle happened. And the head of the prison asked him to come up. When I say up, it was because he was up on an area set apart from the other prisoners where he was living. And they invited the South African team of about 10 young people to come up with my father and sing to him and read the Bible to him and just spend time with him, a little bit of time. That was a very heavy thing that happened. And as a result, General Noriega asked for my father to return. And that happened about 10 different times, I want to say, 8 to 10 different times. And that was a very amazing thing that took place. And so that happened all the way until about a year before he passed away, I think. Wouldn't you say? Yes.
So tell me in your dad's voice what he felt like Noriega was, recognizing his ills. And I heard from your husband that he apologized to the Panamanian people. Do you feel like he at least possibly found Christ even?
I actually do, because we had heard of different things that was happening in his life, but up to that point, we had never seen any fruit. In other words, he had never asked to publicly speak to the Panamanian people and, actually confess and repent for all of the things, try in his humble, feeble way. He was by that time he had a brain tumor, but just to say, I was horrifically wrong for what I did to this nation and the horrific things that he did. And obviously that cannot take any of those things away. But what was very significant was he asked for the Panamanian press to please come out so that he could publicly say it. And that was the first time that had happened. And that was a short time after my father had a very significant meeting with him of where he felt like he was owning and he was truly realizing there's no hope apart from the cross of Christ. And
received by the Panamanian people, that must have been kind of a breath of
It's a mixed thing, because he did horrible things to people. People don't really want to hear that a guy is forgiven. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like if Adolf Hitler did that in his last days. Yeah, it's a hard deal.
For his, making the steps that he could, and to demonstrate his heart of contrition before Almighty God, he was making some steps that he could take on a public level to do that. And so that was very, very amazing. I'll put a plug in for my father's incredible book. It's called Finding Freedom in Panama. And it's the story of many amazing testimonies and stories of how he overcame his fear of going into the prison for the first time 35 years ago. And then the amazing stories that unfolded after that, and specifically during the U.S. invasion and what was happening in the little town of Gamboa, which was actually a very strategic location for many of Noriega's inner circle and what was happening there. And so it's a great book. And I would encourage you to get that, and you can find it on Amazon. Finding Freedom in Panama by Pastor Bill Wilbur. Bill Wilbur, Pastor Bill Wilbur, Finding Freedom in Panama. It's a great read.
And available on Amazon.
Available on Amazon. Yes. I'll be giving you a copy. But
as you can see, if you look out back right now, not to change everything, but the gate is closed behind this ship, and we are sinking downwards.
Okay, so was what's happening is the walls are going to get taller here, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yep, we're falling down to the Pacific Ocean.
So is this one of the first times you guys have been on camera together? Why don't you
Yeah.
do a quick reach out to both your kids?
Yeah.
Mark, Elise, we love you.
Mark. We have 3 kids now.
Yeah.
We have a daughter in love. So we have Mark, Amy, and Elise. Yes, we love you.
Love you guys.
So special. Yeah. So neat. This is quite a sight. We need to get your brother on the camera.
Yeah.
That's who we need to get. We need to get Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew is a wealth of information.
Now, how about his mom too? Do you think so? We were
I think
talking.
she's
If she would
shy.
talk.
She said she was too shy.
Yeah, but Andrew's
well,
the best.
Okay.
I mean, Andrew is phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys hold the camera.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Tell him he can't say no. That. Is it Dave? It's Dave,
Yeah.
right?
Awesome. Look, Masako, over there. You can see the gate coming. Oh, yeah, I know. You have to turn. You don't have to turn. So there's the gates. These gates, by the way, very interesting. They were made in Pennsylvania. And these gates are full of air. So they basically float in the water. And they're very cleverly designed. It used to be, now they've replaced the system with hydraulics, but these used to be open, these massive giant gates. Remember, they're like an iceberg. They go way down to the bottom of the chamber. And they would open them with only a 40 horsepower motor would open that entire gate because they were so cleverly designed and they were floating. And those are the original gates. They've been here for over 100 years.
Michael said this is great.
What's that?
Michael said this is great. I'm so sorry. Maybe Michael, come on.
I think it's Masako. They understand. This is on your live, Masako, right?
This is Michael.
Oh, it's on? Okay. Okay. Wow.
How many meters are we going down?
It's like 27 feet. I don't, yeah.
Sorry, I'm not good at it. I know, right?
Is this your TV show?
Michael's Substack. Michael's social media.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And he's watching.
Michael's the only one watching.
He's watching. Oh, this is like, hi.
He did. I don't blame him. Would have been terrified.
He just said no. That's why he's hiding from you. You notice? He's like, I'm gonna go get my phone. It's charging.
I think Masako and you want water.
Oh,
Michael
thank you, Michael.
received the message.
What?
You said water.
That was really what I was actually bringing you guys water.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Michael. Thank you
welcome.
so much. Thank you.
No way. Here, yeah, I'll hold it, of course. Let me take a photo real quick. Yay. No, I came up to bring you guys water. That was.
Thank you, Michael.
I was like, if I'm thirsty, they have to be thirsty.
Put this here for a second, just so I can open this.
Now I need one too. I was watching you guys down there. That's why as soon as you were talking about Andrew, I was like, Andrew, you got to go back up. You gotta go up. This is a great. I love what you're saying because I'm learning a lot. Even though I go out with you so much, I always learn more.
Thank you.
So here we are, Miraflores.
Let me get in the captain's seat. Hopefully they won't kick me out.
Nothing could go wrong. Oh. Saco, that's your last. Oh, here we go. The gate is opening. The lock is opening. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Miraflores lock is opening. Open sesame. Open sesame. The Miraflores lock is opening. Misako, can you hold the camera so I can hold the mic? Where's Matthew? Oh. Can Matthew still talk? He's been asked to talk all day. So here we go. Through the Miraflores lock on our way to the Pacific Ocean. And as we pass through, you'll be able to see the very controversial Chinese port. We're not there yet. But actually, as we pass through the Miraflores locks and we go to that, you can see where the ground flattens out there. To the left is where the United Nations headquarters are at City of Knowledge, Ciudad del Saber, where we stay months at a time, actually. There's a question. What's the question? I can't see it.
This is not a question. Amen, Michael. UN must be dismantled. Thank you so much.
Oh,
very much for such an incredible live stream and people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Whoa, almost fell down. All right, here we go. Here, let me give you that camera back. I was going to show them that water. And but the United Nations must be defunded. The world has had enough of them. They're criminals. Not only should they be defunded, they should be defanged and dismantled, and many of them should be in prison for the things that they've done around the world, for the massive amounts of death they've caused. They need to be disarmed. They have weapons. The United Nations has weapons. They need to be disarmed. So here we go, going through the Miraflores locks. And over here, up on the left, you'll see there's the Holiday Inn in the distance, a hotel we've stayed at many times. That's where Oscar Blue has stayed, and Ben Berkwam and so many others. And because that Holiday Inn that's right, Misako, can you put the Holiday Inn in the middle of the screen? Yeah, zoom it in. Thank you. That is in the City of Knowledge. So you're looking at the City of Knowledge across the road over there. And the City of Knowledge is the United Nations headquarters, and it should be defunded and dismantled.
Sorry to interrupt. You might put the camera on the narrowness.
Tell Misako.
You might look at the narrowness of the clearance. It's 110 feet wide.
Yeah.
But that ship might be 107 feet wide. The clearance is incredibly small.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, right there. See how there? I'm looking at the screen as Misako does this. See the clearance between the edges of the ship? Not much, and that's a lot of power in those ships. This is why the ship captains are extremely well trained. To have the top qualifications takes 14 years. Imagine that, 14 years. How long does it take to become a brain surgeon? right? 14 years to get all the to be qualified to do everything in the Panama Canal as a ship pilot. That's why they're so highly respected and also highly paid, because they also work hard and they climb up those Jacob's ladders on the sides of the giant ships. It's not like a helicopter drops them in. They still have to be fit and come up and down the ship ladders. And the oldest one is actually 81 years old, and he's American. I think his name's Tom Welch. We haven't met him, but I want to meet him. Maybe we'll get lucky and meet him today. I don't know if he's with this group or not. He's not with us on this boat, though. I'm sure Mr. Welch doesn't need to do a tour through the canal, since he just does it all the time as an actual ship pilot. So this probably isn't very exciting for him as a tourist. But everybody likes to talk with him. There's the two flags in the City of Knowledge, the right over there. See the two Panamanian flags. In the past, last year they had an IOM flag in the flag of Panama, and then we published that, and they took the IOM flag down. That wasn't, IOM was flaunting their power, and we published that it was IOM, and everybody was like, "Hey, why is IOM flying their flag? This is Panama." So they've done the right thing and put two Panamanian flags now. Like, why would you want a United Nations flag flying? Why do we have a United Nations flag flying in New York and one downtown Tokyo as well? Masako and I went to the UN University down there in Tokyo. That whole thing needs to be closed down in Tokyo. It needs to be closed down in Manila. They got one in Manila, Philippines. They've got one in Switzerland. That's the main headquarters for IOM, actually. Then they've got, we've been to IOM offices all over the world. I mean, we've been to them in El Salvador and Honduras, and here, of course, in Panama and Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Thailand. So many. Japan, of course. Many. So here we go to the other lock. Isn't this cool? Can you imagine? This was all built. This was opened in 1914, the same year, 1914. And this is 2025. It was built. This opened in 1914, the same year that nitrogenous fertilizer started being made in Ludwigshafen, Germany, at the BASF plant. That was when they started using natural gas to make nitrogenous fertilizers using the Haber-Bosch process. So when you had this open up and you had nitrogenous fertilizers starting to be made and explosives using the Haber-Bosch process, and so many other things that were unfolding at that time, the global population just began to explode. We had bigger ships, faster ships, bigger trains, faster trains, better agricultural techniques, better fertilizer production, just many things, and the human population began to explode. If you look at population graphs, you'll see they right around that time frame really starts to pick up globally. Isn't this awesome? Everybody needs to come down to see the Panama Canal at some point. This is truly one of the wonders of the world that you'll see. Again, this bankrupted France. France gave a good go. I know earlier Matt Tomlett was talking about it, but I'll mention it again. But when France tried to make a canal, it bankrupted them. And before that, when the Scottish tried to not build a canal, but build a passageway, like a porter, using porters, like donkeys and that sort of thing, and indigenous people to carry cargo between the seas, it bankrupted Scotland. And that's why in 1706, Scotland in the Articles of Union became part of the United Kingdom. That's why Scotland is part of the United Kingdom today, because the Darian smashed them flat. Panama is like the place where some countries have come to die. This is no joke. It's like the Afghanistan of Central America here, This jungle's been quite serious. So many people have died from yellow fever and malaria and other things here. right now, I'm told this morning that some of the like there's some pelicans swooping down here over the lock, but that some of the Embera Indians are sick down in Darian. We'll go down there and take a look at it. I got a message from Ann Vandersteel. She might be coming back soon. She's in some important meetings today, though, back in Florida, actually, in the U.S. You need water? I need water, too.
You want me to go get it?
Yeah, water time. When I got thirsty earlier, I realized if I'm thirsty, they have to be thirsty. So I brought them all the water I could carry. So now Masako's got to go fetch some more water. So out that way is the Pacific Ocean. And as soon after we go through these locks here, then we will go past one of the controversial Chinese ports. And that's when Matthew or somebody else has to talk about it because they know a lot more about it than I do. I mean, we know more about it than your average person, but we don't know as much about it as some of the people here, that's for sure. Matthew lives this. There's that giant ship that's been following us, the London Highway. Hopefully that ship will stop. And I don't know if you saw it, but maybe a year and a half ago, a big ship had a little bit too much energy behind it and almost crushed a tugboat. It looked like it did crush it, but the video cut out. And I asked the pilot, he said it did not. It did not even hit the tugboat. But when the video cut out, it looked like it was over for the tugboat, but apparently it didn't even get hit. There's Masako. Who opened one of the locks last week. Agua Flores locked on the other side, the Atlantic side. We're on the Pacific side. Thank you. Yeah, I'll take that water.
This is the last step for going to Pacific side, right?
That's right. This is the last step to the real salt water.
Real salt water. Yes.
And there are real crocodiles out here.
Wow. Let's see if there's any questions for Michael. Right now, Michael, 668 people are watching.
Hello. Tell everybody hello.
Okay. Let me read some comments people posted. This is Kevin O'Shea. Thank you, Michael, for such an exciting and educational live stream. Oh, my face is too big. Thank you for watching. A lot of people have joined. Love this canal. And disarm the UN, good idea. Needs to be done for the future of America and the world. Yes. Okay. If you want to ask a question to Michael, we will read the comments, so please write it down.
People sometimes ask us how we know so much about so many different countries, and it's because this is actually sort of our daily office, but it's around the world, whether it's in jungles or deserts or with engineers or army people. Oh, I wonder how long the mic was out. We'll have to ask people. Uh, so sorry about that. Apparently the mic was out. I don't know if it's been out for 10 minutes or 10 hours. Well, it wasn't out like 30 minutes ago because I was watching it. I was watching the live stream from the other deck of this boat. Has anybody left a comment about how long the audio was out? So this is it. We're in the Miraflores. This is the last step until we go to the actual saltwater. Because once these gates open, that's it.
Are you going to go through the Pedro Miguel locks today too?
We already did. Those we already did. Those were the first locks we went through. And so now this is the Miraflores. So we went through the Pedro Miguel locks. And actually we were there for a long time. And I said, why are we in these locks for so long? I didn't realize usually when I've come through the locks, we've come after the big ships and we show up and the ship is already there parked. But today we've been at the front of the line and the giant ship is behind us. Like that big gray ship, the London highway that's literally right behind us back there, has been. So we get into the lock first, and then we wait for that giant ship to slowly creep in, and then the water equalizes, and those doors open, and we go through. But yeah, we went through the Pedro Miguel earlier, but this is the last one. After we go through this, the only thing ahead is a little bit more of the canal, and then we'll go by some different ports like the Chinese port. We'll go by Bridge 4 that they're building, and then we'll go under the Thatcher Ferry Bridge, which is the Pan American bridge, Highway 1. And but we'll go right beside the new, what they call the Chinese bridge that's being built. They're also building a tunnel under the canal for a metro, and so they're hard at work on the metro. So we should be able to see them working on the metro when we get there. Well, you can't tell that it's a metro when we go by it in the ship, but that's what it is. Look how fast this water goes down once they actually start to dump. And there's no pumps doing this, by the way. The water is not pumped in or pumped out. It's so brilliantly made. It's all gravity fed. The old timers knew how to build stuff. And Matt talked earlier about how the locks they're not solid, they're hollow. And that allows them, they're made in such a way that they're very easy with small motors to open and close. Their buoyancy has been calculated to, make the movement of the locks easy. Just imagine how many ships have come through here. Lord knows, from all over the world. No telling what they're carrying to and from. Literally, what you're looking at is a main valve in the circulatory system of the entire world. That literally is like an arterial valve right there. And it's such a small space one of the most important places on Earth right here. And those two doors right there, are two of the most important little structures on planet Earth. Is those two doors and the things and the people that make them work and all the engineering that goes behind this, which was intense. The more you learn about it, the more interesting it becomes. A great book, I know we keep mentioning it, is the Path Between the Seas. The Path Between the Seas is an incredible book. It's actually up there with in quality and importance with Creature from Jekyll Island. Creature from Jekyll Island actually talks about Panama and the canal. You know, the incredible book by G. Edward Griffin, Creature from Jekyll Island. But then again, The Path Between the Seas is about the construction of the Panama Canal and the history. It's an amazing history. It's an amazing history a lot of people don't seem to know anything about. They don't really. I think most Americans, even though they're dependent on those two doors right there, more than they probably imagine, most Americans probably can't find Panama on a map. They probably can't find it on an unmarked map. And even if the map is marked, it'll probably take, I'm guessing most Americans, it would take them, 5 minutes to find it, because they really don't know anything about how important it is or why people like us are here, and why people like General Flynn and Marco Rubio and Trump and the rest and everybody is like, hey, this is pretty doggone important. Very, very important. You're literally looking at right now two of the most important little structures on Earth, and they're about to open. And then before us will be the path between the seas, continues to the Pacific Ocean. You see those yellow rails on the top. When the gate starts to open, you'll see those will lay flat because that's a walkway. The walkway goes up automatically as the gates close or open, or they go down when it. There they go. See, they're going down now. As they go down, that means it's about to open. As soon as they go down, you'll see it start to open. There it is. I see it starting to open. See the crack there? So here goes. The path between the seas is opening. Two of the most important doors on planet Earth are opening right now. Literally, this is arterial flow for the United States and Japan and many other countries whose economies are very dependent on these two little doors and the other doors behind. And with the Suez largely interrupted now due to the war, and the Houthis are not allowing people freedom of passage through the Suez Canal. Many more are trying to get through here because the Suez is largely interrupted. So this has become even more important. The Panama Canal has become more important. So there it is. We're about to go through the Lion's Gate here. Look at that. That's amazing. Everybody should do this. You should take every child should come through this, and they should see it, and they should be aware of how important things like this are. On a map, it just looks like a little line, but it's a lot more than a little line. It's a major, strategically vital line of communication. There's the to the left there where Masako is pointing is where United Nations headquarters are at for this whole theater. So behind those buildings is where the United Nations headquarters are that we're always talking about. So behind those buildings is the Panama Canal Railway. Right behind those buildings, like the Panama Canal Railway, if a train goes by now, you're going to see it because it would only be like 400 yards from us. And then just on the other side of that, those the buildings are United Nations. It used to be U.S. Army South Headquarters, Fort Clayton, but now it's not. Now, as we come out here further, not yet, but another, I don't know, 10 minutes, this is where I mean, President Grant was here, Theodore Roosevelt was here. I mean, this is everybody who was somebody or is somebody knows something about the Panama Canal. Yeah, well, can you get Matthew? Where's Matt? Matt needs to be explaining this. Here, can you hold this, or you find him, go get Matt and let Matt grab the microphone. As we go through here, this is so important. Matthew needs to be the one narrating it, not me, because this is, he knows a lot more about it, and what you're about to see up here soon is very important. So that bridge that's in the shot there in the distance, well, you'll see it very closely. We're going to go under it. But that is the Pan American Highway. Wait, I got this thing in the way. Hold on, Masako walked away to find Matthew. But when she gets back, she'll have the camera and she can operate the zoom on it. And I'll hand the microphone to Matthew Tomlin. Oh, grab him. Masako is very polite. She says, Matthew seems to be busy. I'm like, she's being Japanese. I'm being American. Grab him. You know? So, Matthew's the one that needs to be narrating this. Look at these couple of ships coming through. And so that bridge up ahead, you'll see it very closely. We're going to go right under it. That's the Pan American Highway. It used to be called the Thatcher Ferry Bridge. The Zonians who lived here for so long, they still call it the Thatcher Ferry Bridge. But that highway is the one that goes down to the Darian Gap. And so all the aliens who are coming through, they're going over this bridge. Most of them do. The vast majority go right over that bridge. And all right, I'm going to hand the microphone to Matthew. Matthew, this has to be you. I am not qualified to talk about this the way you are.
Okay.
This is the last time we crossed the bridge before
Thanks,
the
Matthew.
neighbors.
Okay. All right, guys. We are in the Pacific Ocean now. We're down at Pacific. Here we have a area that fluctuates like up to like 19 feet with the tide. Very different from the Atlantic, which is only about 50 miles away. The tide only fluctuates about 18 inches there, which is really interesting. I have no idea how to explain that. But coming up to our left over there, where all those cranes are, that is the Panama Ports Company that's been in the news so much recently. That is the Hong Kong-based Hutchinson Wompao Port Company that is at the mouth of the Panama Canal, and that's the thing that's been in the news so much. The port over there to the right with the green cranes, I don't know the name of the company, but it's a relatively new port. It's a Singaporean company. And they mostly work with an Italian shipping line called MSC. You can see one of the MSC ships is there right now. You will see that blue ship coming out into the channel. That's a Maersk ship, Danish company. They're the biggest user of the Panama Ports Company. And I don't mean to confuse anyone. The actual name of the port is owned by Hutchinson Wompao, but locally it's operated here in Panama under the name Panama Ports Company. So I'm sorry to confuse everyone. I'll go back and forth between those names. The bridge up in front of us is the Thatcher Ferry Bridge. That bridge was put in the 1960s. That bridge joins all of the continent of South America with North America, basically. We're going to get a better view of the port in a few minutes here. Oh, and here behind us, I'm sorry, Masako, if you right over there is the new expanded canal that the Panamanians made. And that's a Neo-Panamax ship inside that lock. You can see the big gate there. It's about to come. That ship is going to drop down and it's going to come out. But that's the new set of locks that Panama built for really big ships.
Is there a new name for the size, like Panamax? Is this one?
They call it like Neo-Panamax.
Neo.
Yeah. That new locks, that's called Coakley locks, and they don't use locomotives in that locks. The ships go in and they're assisted by tugboats in the bow and the stern of the ship. So it's a whole kind of a different concept. Up here, looking up here, that's the Hutchinson Wampau port that everyone's talking about. There it is, right there. It's a very large operation at that port. Once again, they do operate ports in the United States as well. This is a Singaporean port that you're looking at right now. Feel the south wind now that we're. Yeah. This is the port that everyone's talking about in the background.
This is the port.
Yeah.
This is the Hutchinson.
Yep. Nasty. Singapore. Singapore. These piers over here were made by the United States also, and that used to be the Rodman Naval Station. That was a U.S. Navy base before. Yes, correct. You're looking at the Singaporean port. So you can see there's a lot of port concessions around here that operate at the mouth of the canal. And
that's a Neo-Panamax right up there, right?
I can't tell. I don't know if it is. Yeah, it looks big. It just came out of the port. Yeah. Yeah.
That looks like
Yeah. Yeah.
That looks really wide.
Yeah, it is wide. Really fat.
And I think they're already ready for the next size.
Yeah, that's right. It's already been outgrown.
We're already
Yeah,
outdated.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, go, Michael. Oh, perdón, lo siento. Okay, Masako, if you film right up there where that crane is, yeah, that is the fourth bridge. That's the footing. They're putting in the footings of the fourth bridge over the Panama Canal. And that also is another project being done by China. They're putting in the money and funding. It's actually a Panamanian construction company, but it's Chinese money is building it. This is the bridge that's going to be funded by China. They're starting a new bridge parallel to this bridge.
Is this going to be more capacity?
Yeah. There's so much growth in the city that this bridge isn't enough to handle the capacity of traffic. They get horrific traffic jams all the time. Yeah, they desperately need a new bridge. And also simultaneously, they're putting underneath right here, there's going to be a tunnel going under the canal. And that's being done by a Japanese company is putting that in. And they're going to have like a subway line that's going to go under the canal.
Is this mostly for commuters in
Commuters,
Panama City?
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because Panama City's really growing.
So what's happened is the prices have gotten so high in Panama City, your lower wage workers have to commute across this bridge and go up into the interior and buy land and live there. So every day in the morning, there's this huge mass of traffic that comes into the city, and then vice versa in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So what started as a little humble town of Chorrera has turned into this gigantic urban sprawl on the other side of the bridge because land prices were cheaper. And these here, Masako, are dry docks. That's another company that operates here called Astibal, and they have dry docks here.
So is this the port operated by Hutchinson?
That's it right there, that big whole port right there. That's the port in question. And the port on the other side in Colón is about just as big, if not bigger.
And that's where all the cranes essentially unload all the shipping containers. Right?
Exactly. That port, the Hutchinson port, a lot of those containers, they work with the Panama Canal Railway Company, and a lot of those containers, which is an American company, by the way, those containers will go onto the train and they'll go over to the Atlantic side and be unloaded in the other Hutchinson port over there. And then they'll be fed out into ships that come into the port and distributed to all over the place. There's also another really big port on the Atlantic side that's actually owned, I'm forgetting the name, but it's an American company, and they run that port. And I believe that port is even bigger than the Hutchinson operation.
So do you have any idea what hourly rate these Panamanian port workers are getting?
Not sure.
Yeah.
Probably $4 an hour, something like that.
In Costa Rica, I guess they get $3 an hour.
Yeah. Same here. They.
Oh yeah. Really. Are we still on Substack?
I think so. Still on. You okay, Masako? Yeah. Sorry. You're welcome. Oh yeah, so the president of Panama, in response to Trump's comments about taking the canal, they had those flags put out on the bridge just as kind of a solidarity thing for Panama. This bridge, by the way, was built by the United States in the 1960s. They used to be, prior to the bridge, there was only a little ferry that took a select amount of cars across the canal, and that was the only way to get up to the other side of the Pan American Highway.
That's the old Thatcher Ferry landing that I'm looking at.
That's the old Thatcher Ferry landing, exactly. Yeah, you feel the south wind. That's why we're getting this rain all the time.
Misako, there are huge saltwater crocodiles right in there. Can't see them right now, but they're there. They love that beach.
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, but it's something. Yeah. No, it's just asking what the Chinese are asking for in return for building the bridge. You know? Yeah.
Just Darian.
Well, I thought it was free.
Just this hemisphere. What's that? I mean, I guess they're making a profit supposedly off of that investment. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know.
It's crazy how they pick the top.
Yeah.
Some of Grant's people were buried right over here to begin with, right?
I think so. Yeah.
And they got moved.
Yeah.
Are they dropping us off at the pier now?
I don't. Oh.
They probably are. So that we get off by our car.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah.
This is like Titanic, you two.
Smile.
We can't live without you. If he leaves, then that's it. It's over. It's just us and the crocodiles and the porpoises.
Vamos a atracar en este muelle allá. Ah, wow, no sabía.
Are they taking us out?
Ah, qué bien. Okay. Ah, para votar el piloto. Yeah, we're going to that pier. That's really great. Yeah, Simple Simon.
No problem.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, everybody would have had to get back.
Yeah. They're going to dock us right here at this pier. Yeah, that way we're right by the hotel. We can walk right up. Yeah, I thought we were going to the end. That's crazy.
This used to be the famous old yacht club, and the only one. Now it's like empty, isn't it, Matt? Compared to what it used to be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get off. You don't need that on me. I ain't pretty. Put it on yourself. Put it on those crocodiles over there.
You see a crocodile yet?
No.
Not this time.
What kind of ships are you taking?
So I want to go like tubing in this river in Costa Rica. My little town.
That's what Michael
I've
heard.
heard there's crocodiles.
So why does that matter?
Yeah.
So you got it installed.
Yeah, I don't
So
want
it's not like Tiny Mary, but everything else.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I gotta ask him. You think it's probably a whole different state visit, massive.
What was that movie, Happy Gilmore? Where he got his arm ripped off by an alligator?
Right, a little bit more experience, more transit. But he is it by transits or by how much time?
What's that?
By time here.
No, I gotta wait for the March, I go up one more.
Is it
One.
more
Although I got to the big one.
Worth it, isn't it?
That first time that you have to transfer from the top to.
Yeah. Grab the microphone if you got something to say.
Here.
I don't know if anybody's listening anymore. Just endorse Michael Yon, everything that he's doing. What a phenomenal patriot, he and his lovely wife. And having a great time out here in Panama. And anyway, come to Panama. It's a great country. Pray for Donald Trump and all the great patriots who are trying to do the right thing.
Samurai. You know, her last name has 3 syllables, Ganaha, which in her culture on Okinawa means she's descendant of samurai.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So she's a tough cookie.
Oh, yeah. She hates to come out of the jungle. She's like, jungle is where I belong.
We're waiting here for the pilot launch that's going to come and take the pilot
Wrapping
off.
it up for the day.
Oh.
Do you want to wrap it up? Becky, you have anything to say? I was watching you downstairs. You did great.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been an honor, guys. We love you. It's always an honor to be with Dr. Michael Yon.
It is an absolute honor to be with Masako and Michael.
And Dave, too.
And Dave.
Yeah, and
Yes,
Masako.
absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone come to Panama.
Yeah, come to Panama, guys.
God bless you.
God
all.
bless you all. Thanks for watching.
Follow Michael and everything he's doing for the country. He's got great wisdom. Follow him on Substack. Are you on Instagram? And tell your friends about it. Becky has something to add.
Yes, I have one more thing to add. So, one of the best artists in this entire nation happens to be my amazing husband. So, he needs to be followed on Instagram. And if anyone ever wants a private commissioning, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you, guys.
It's unbelievable.
And where can they find him?
Matthew Tomlin, Instagram. All the information is there.
And how do you spell the last name?
Tomlet. Yes.
Did you get that? Tomlet.
Tomlet. The most amazing Panama Canal paintings you can ever find are done by my amazing husband.
Thank you, dear.
Say the Instagram more slowly.
Matthew Tomlet. That's it. Instagram. Yes. There you go. Thank you.
Again, griddownpowerup.com is our movie website. You can write your legislators, regulators, members of board of directors of your public utilities. Watch the movie. Tell your friends. Here comes a tugboat with our captain. Bye to our prior captain. We're going to let Michael Yon sign off.
Wow, it's starting to rain right now. And all right. You can see the captaining is somewhat different already. All right. All right. All right. You'll have a good day. I'll talk with you later. Oh, it's starting to rain. You got to close that computer. How do we turn this thing off? Okay.
Oh, you want to close?
Yeah, close it. But you gotta end the live stream. And yeah, we'll do them more often. Misako is like, make sure to say we're gonna do it. She's using brainwashing techniques. All right, we'll use it. We'll see you later, and soon. How do we? It's starting to rain. We gotta close it down quick.